Chapter 3502. It's him. Zhuowen walked down from the 81st floor to the 80th floor. Soon after, he felt a teleportation energy wrap around his body. His guess was right. The teleportation energy of the Pill Array Immortal Monarch's Pavilion was completely ineffective on the 81st floor. The moment he left the 81st floor, he was immediately affected by the teleportation energy. Zhuowen did not resist the teleportation energy. He was enveloped by the teleportation light and disappeared from the spot. At this moment, the plaza outside the Pill Array Immortal Monarch's Pavilion was still terrifyingly quiet. Everyone stared unblinkingly at the light spot on the top floor. Soon, they noticed that the light spot went down from the 81st floor to the 80th floor. Soon after, the light spot disappeared. Look, that light spot disappeared. This person is going to leave the Pill Array Immortal Monarch's Pavilion. It's true. I really don't know who this person is. He's actually so awesome to reach the top floor of the Pill Array Immortal Monarch's Pavilion. The originally quiet square began to stir at this moment, becoming noisy and boisterous. Everyone became excited. They all wanted to see the true identity of that strange light spot. Standing below the Pill Array Immortal Monarch's Pavilion, the Immortal City Lord Duan Chengyaro squinted his eyes as he looked at the light spot that disappeared. He seemed to be very concerned. His expression revealed a strange expression. Like everyone else, he was also very curious about the identity of that light spot. Moreover, his expression did not look too good. This was because he had just discovered that the restrictions on the surface of the true Pill Array record that he had personally set up had been broken. This also meant that the true Pill Array record had been taken away by this person. However, Duan Chengyaro quickly regained his calm. An indescribable smile appeared on his face. He was very confident. In his opinion, the true Pill Array record belonged to the Immortal City Lord of the Pill Array Immortal City. This person was able to enter the 81st floor and break the restrictions on the surface of the true Pill Array record. He was a rare talent. He was willing to let this person study the true Pill Array record for a period of time. Of course, this person had to join the Pill Array Immortal City and take him as the City Lord. He had to serve the Pill Array Immortal City in the future. Of course, if this person dared to disobey, Duan Chengyaro would not mind making this person suffer. Duan Chengyao's Pill Array skills were very powerful. He had already reached the half-step heaven-crushing realm. His strength was also not weak. Moreover, he was also at the peak of the third blight. His strength was unparalleled. In Duan Chengyao's opinion, he was probably the only person in the entire starry sky of the lower realms who could reach the level of half-step heaven-breaker in alchemy while also possessing such heaven-defying cultivation. It was already not easy for the cultivator represented by this dot of light to have such a high level of alchemy skills and to not be more than 10,000 years old. He did not think that this person's cultivation would be that strong. And in Duan Chengyao's opinion, this kind of Pill Array genius was the easiest to control. Duan Chengyaro was very confident that he could firmly grasp this genius in his hands and use him in the future. And Immortal Monarchs. Immortal City's great elder Yu Jinghuan's eyes shone brightly. She raised her spirits and paid close attention. Jiang Pinghui, who was standing beside Yu Jinghuan, was also in high spirits. She was curious. What kind of person could reach the peak of the Pill Array Immortal Monarch's Pavilion? Under the gazes of countless people, the teleportation light finally appeared in the square. It was like a white pillar of light. It was extremely dazzling. Everyone's eyes widened the moment they saw the teleportation light. Their eyes were filled with eagerness and anticipation. However, two of them had bitter expressions on their faces. These two were naturally Bu Yangrong and Zhu Wenlin. A bitter smile hung on the corners of their mouths. They knew that Zhuowen might have already obtained the remnant true Pill Array record. They knew that Zhuowen had come here for the sake of obtaining the remnant Pill Formation true record. Thus, he was determined to retrieve it. Moreover, they also knew that the Immortal City Lord, Duan Chengyaro, would definitely not allow Zhuowen to take away the Pill Array true record. Although they had seen Zhuowen's strength, they did not have any confidence in Zhuowen. In their hearts, Duan Chengyaro, the City Lord of the Immortal City, was already a deified figure. In the entire Pill-Array Immortal City, Duan Chengyao was like a god. Almost no one dared to go against Duan Chengyao, let alone go against his decision. When the time came, Zhuowen would definitely have a conflict with Duan Chengyao because of the true Pill-Array record. When that time came, a huge battle would be unavoidable. If Zhuowen was lucky enough to escape, the two of them might still be able to survive. However, if Zhuowen was caught and found out that the two of them were protecting Zhuowen, the two of them would definitely die. However, they knew that the chances of Zhuowen escaping were close to zero. After all, this was the Pill-Array Immortal City. It was completely under Duan Chengyao's control. Moreover, in this immortal city, there were even 6 formidable half-step heaven-shattering realm experts. Even if this Zhuowen had 3 heads and 6 arms, it was of no use. Sigh. How did things develop to this point? Bu Yangrong was deeply worried as he let out a sigh. The teleportation light finally faded, revealing Zhuowen's figure. As soon as Zhuowen appeared on the square, he felt countless gazes on him. His gaze was calm. When he ascended to the top floor of the Pill-Array Immortal Monarch's Pavilion, he knew that he would cause a huge commotion in the square. It's him. Chu Xiangdi, who was standing beside Gong Yushu, couldn't help but exclaim. He had some impression of Zhuowen. Wasn't this guy Zhu Wenlin's junior brother, Zhuowen? Originally, he had completely ignored this person and didn't put him in his eyes. This was because he didn't even put Zhu Wenlin in his eyes, and this person was only Zhu Wenlin's junior brother. How could he put him in his eyes? However, now, Zhuowen's appearance was a ruthless slap to his face. He had suffered an extreme blow. Jiang Pinghui's beautiful eyes were also dazed. She also had some impression of Zhuowen, but it wasn't deep. She only knew that this person was Zhu Wenlin's junior brother. She didn't expect that this mysterious genius was actually that unremarkable youth from before. This was too unexpected. Xiangdi, you know this person? Gong Yushu couldn't help but ask when he saw Chu Xiangdi's strange state. When Gong Yushu said this, the elders' gazes all turned to Chu Xiangdi. Even the Immortal City's Grand Elder Yu Jinghuan looked at Chu Xiangdi curiously. Their elders' group knew nothing about this youth. They had never seen him before. Now that Chu Xiangdi seemed to know him, they were all very curious. Chu Xiangdi also realized that he had lost his composure. He calmed down and said with a complicated gaze, I've met this person once before. I remember that he's called Zhuowen. I think his elder Bu Yangrong's new disciple and also Zhu Wenlin's junior brother. What? Bu Yangrong's disciple? The elders' group was in an uproar. They all looked at Bu Yangrong at the same time. Chapter 3503. Flatly rejected. Yu Jinghuan looked at Bu Yangrong and asked in surprise, Yangrong, is this person really your new disciple? Yu Jinghuan's voice was filled with doubt. Bu Yangrong's alchemy skills were only at the peak of the creation grade, but Zhuowen was a half-step heaven breaker grade alchemy grandmaster. With Zhuowen's skills, he should be Bu Yangrong's master, not his disciple. It wasn't just Yu Jinghuan. The surrounding elders all had doubtful looks in their eyes. Bu Yangrong's scalp went numb, and his heart was filled with bitterness. He could only brace himself and say, this Zhuowen is indeed my new disciple. The alchemy skills he displayed were only at the Genesis grade. I didn't expect him to hide his skills so well. Bu Yangrong sighed in his heart. He could only use such a far-fetched reason to absolve himself. Oh! In other words, this Zhuowen deliberately concealed his alchemy skills to become your disciple? The city lord, Duan Chengyao, narrowed his eyes as he thought of something. He looked at the figure in front of the Pill-Array Celestial Monarch's Pavilion with an ugly expression. He suspected that this Zhuowen had snuck in for the true Pill-Array record. But soon, Duan Chengyao calmed down. So what if this Zhuowen's goal was the true Pill-Array record? So what if he got it? He knew that even if this Zhuowen got the true Pill-Array record, he wouldn't be able to leave the Pill-Array Celestial City. This was because the entire Pill-Array Celestial City was under his control, and no one dared to disobey him. In Duan Chengyao's heart, this Zhuowen was already a turtle in a jar. He couldn't escape even if he had wings, and he could only let him do whatever he wanted. Jiang Pinghui's beautiful eyes were complicated. She was very intelligent, and she remembered that when she exchanged the soul mystic technique, it was Zhuowen who took it out. Previously, she really thought that the soul mystic technique belonged to Zhuowen, and it was temporarily in Zhu Wenlin's hands. Now that she thought about it, she realized that it was impossible for Zhu Wenlin to have something as important as a soul arcane art. After all, Zhu Wenlin's cultivation wasn't high and his alchemy skills were also ordinary. How could he possibly have such a lucky chance? In that case, the one who possessed the divine soul secret technique was definitely Zhuo Wen, who had concealed himself deeply. This person is really watertight. Even I was deceived by him, Jiang Pinghui murmured in a low voice. She looked at Zhuowen with a strange gaze. In the Pillar Ray Immortal City, Jiang Pinghui was the genius with the highest Pillar Ray level amongst the younger generation. She also had a perfect appearance and a hot figure. She could be said to be the goddess in the hearts of countless young men in the Pillar Ray Immortal City. She had countless pursuers. However, Jiang Pinghui was very arrogant and rejected batch after batch of suitors. Her ability was too strong, and she had high expectations for her other half. At the very least, the other half had to surpass her in terms of alchemy. Moreover, the other half had to be an extremely capable monstrous genius. Within the Pillar Ray Immortal City, only one person agreed with Jiang Pinghui's other half. That was the city lord, Duan Chengyao. However, Jiang Pinghui knew that Duan Chengyao was high and mighty, and it was difficult to get close to him. Although she admired Duan Chengyao, she also knew that it was impossible for her and Duan Chengyao to be together. The difference in status between the two was too big, and the difference in age was also very big. But now, a young man of similar age with an outstanding Pillar Ray level had suddenly appeared. Jiang Pinghui's heart felt strange, and the way she looked at Zhuowen also changed. At this moment, Zhuowen was like a javelin, standing in the same place. He quickly noticed that the leader of the elders was a middle-aged man wearing a long robe. His gaze became serious. He felt that this middle-aged man gave him a sense of danger. Moreover, the leader of the elders, the Grand Elder of the Immortal City, Yu Jinghuan, was standing behind the middle-aged man respectfully. Zhuowen was surprised. He guessed the identity of this person. He should be the city lord of the Pillar Ray Immortal City, Duan Chengyao. In the Pillar Ray Immortal City, only the city lord's position was higher than the elders. Zhuowen did not expect that even the city lord would come this time. This was an unprecedented grand occasion. At this moment, Duan Chengyao had a faint smile on his face as he walked towards Zhuowen. Yu Jinghuan led the elders group and followed closely behind Duan Chengyao. As for Bu Yangrong, his face was not right, and it was pale without blood. At this moment, to him, it was too torturous. He even sent a voice transmission to Zhuowen, telling him that if Duan Chengyao asked for the remnant true Pillar Ray record, he better hand it over. Otherwise, he would not have a good ending. Unfortunately, Bu Yangrong did not receive a reply. This made Bu Yangrong even more nervous. Duan Chengyao came in front of Zhuowen and sized him up. He was surprised to find that Zhuowen's gaze was calm, and he was not nervous at all. "Do you know who I am?" Duan Chengyao smiled. "I know." Zhuowen nodded. "Oh, you know and you're still so calm?" Duan Chengyao asked curiously. "City Lord Duan, you can enter the top floor of the Pillar Ray Immortal Monarch's Pavilion, and I, Zhuowen, can do the same. When I see you, do I have to feel fear and trepidation?" Zhuowen replied calmly. Once those words were spoken, the group of elders looked at each other. They all felt that this Zhuowen was truly too arrogant. What he meant was that he and Duan Chengyao should be treated as equals, as if they were on equal footing. "Good. You're Zhuowen, right? You're the first person to say such words in front of me. I admire you very much. Join my Pillar Ray Immortal City and serve me, then you'll be the new leader of the Elders Group, and the new Grand Elder of the Pillar Ray Immortal City. Moreover, I can lend you the remnant true Pillar Ray record to study for 100 days. This is the most lenient treatment I can give you," Duan Chengyao said calmly. Yu Jinghuan, who was standing behind Duan Chengyao, had a huge change in expression. However, he did not dare to say anything. Although he was the most powerful person in the Pill Array Immortal City, he was only second to the Immortal City Lord. However, his power was only for others. In front of the Immortal City Lord Duan Chengyaro, he was like a paper tiger. Duan Chengyaro could take away his power and life with a single sentence. Without a doubt, Duan Chengyaro was the true master of the Pill Array Immortal City. Whoever disobeyed him would suffer. In the elders group, Bu Yang Rong's eyes lit up. He knew that Duan Chengyaro had taken a liking to Zhuowen's Pill Array standards. As long as Zhuowen agreed, then everything would be fine. Moreover, he would become the Grand Elder of the Pill Array Immortal City. This was simply a pie falling from the sky. However, Zhuowen shook his head and said calmly, "City Lord Duan, I'm afraid I can't accept this suggestion of yours. I'm already used to living a carefree life. I don't intend to receive any restrictions. Therefore, you should look for someone else." The moment these words were spoken, the surroundings went silent. No one had expected that Zhuowen would actually reject Duan Chengyao's generous offer. That was too gutsy of him. Bu Yang Rong and Zhuowen's faces were pale and their bodies were weak. They knew that they were finished. Not only was Zhuowen finished, they were also finished. After all, their fates were tied together with Zhuowen. Chapter 3504. Turn hostile. Do you still have a choice today? Duan Chengyao's gaze became gloomy. At the same time, 5 figures rushed over from the periphery of the square, erupting with 5 extremely terrifying auras. The terrifying auras filled the entire square, causing all the cultivators in the square to tremble. Some weaker cultivators directly knelt on the ground, unable to get up. That's a half-step heaven-breaking realm powerhouse. Heavens, City Lord Duan actually summoned all the half-step heaven-breaking realm powerhouses in the Celestial City. Is he trying to show off his power to this kid? This person is also sick in the head. City Lord Duan kindly invited him to be the first elder of the Celestial City, which can be considered a great gift, but he actually didn't appreciate it. I think he regrets it now. The square was bustling with noise and excitement. They were all shocked by Duan Chengyao's actions. They didn't expect Duan Chengyaro to actually summon all the half-step heaven-breaking realm powerhouses in the Celestial City. The 5 half-step heaven-breaking realm cultivators quickly landed in front of the Pill Formation Celestial Monarch Pavilion. They landed around Zhuowen, forming a circle and surrounding Zhuowen. Moreover, the 5 of them didn't hesitate to erupt with the strongest pressure in their bodies, wanting to intimidate Zhuowen and make him terrified. Zhuowen was very calm as he looked around at the 5 cultivators surrounding him. Among these 5 cultivators, the most eye-catching one should be an old man with a head full of white hair. This old man's cultivation was the highest among the 5, and he had already reached the early stage of the 3rd blight. As for the other 4, 2 were at the 2nd blight, and the other 2 were at the 1st blight. The elders had long retreated from the battle and stood far away, looking over. Duan Chengyaro stood not far away from the encirclement. His gaze was cold as he said indifferently, "Zhuowen, this lord gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. I don't like to use force, but you forced me to use force." At this point, Duan Chengyaro shook his head and continued, "How about this? You still swear to serve me and give me your soul imprint, and I'll spare your life. This is the last chance I'm giving you. You have to seize it." Zhuowen furrowed his brows. Chengyaro's attitude had changed so quickly. Just now, he even gave him the true pill formation record to study for 100 days and even gave him the position of Grand Elder of the Immortal City. But now, in the blink of an eye, Duan Chengyao actually wanted him to hand over his soul imprint, make him Duan Chengyao's slave, and threaten him with his life. It seemed that Duan Chengyao had long planned to do this, and was just looking for a way out. "Master, City Lord Duan, this is..." Jiang Pinghui's pretty face turned pale when she saw this scene, and she could not help but speak softly. Yu Jinghuan said softly, "Pinghui, you don't have to worry about this matter. Zhuowen had thoroughly offended City Lord Duan today. If he knew what was good for him, he could only become City Lord Duan's servant. I'll serve City Lord Duan for the rest of my life." Jiang Pinghui was silent. She looked at Zhuowen's back, her eyes filled with regret. She knew that this young talent with a bright future would lose his freedom in the future and become Duan Chengyao's slave, unable to escape for the rest of his life. In the square, everyone shook their heads. They could all imagine Zhuowen's miserable fate. What are you still hesitating for? Hand over your soul imprint and you can live. Duan Chengyao saw that Zhuowen did not agree, so he lost his patience and his voice became much louder. Zhuowen's eyes were calm as he said, "What if I say no?" Duan Chengyao was startled. He did not expect that Zhuowen would still be so stubborn at this point. This guy did not want to live anymore, right? Duan Chengyao waved his hand and said coldly, "Teach him a lesson, but don't kill him." The 5 cultivators surrounding Zhuowen all nodded. Among them, a dark-skinned man laughed and said, "Brothers, this guy's arms and legs are thin, so there's no need for you to do anything. I'll deal with him." The dark-skinned man was the weakest among the 5, around the middle stage of the first blight. The dark-skinned man's words naturally received the approval of the other 4. They looked at Zhuowen with disdain. Although this child's alchemy skills were very high, his cultivation aura was very weak. For the 5 of them to be arranged to deal with him was simply a waste of talent. However, they also knew that the city lord Duan Chengyao wanted to establish his might in front of everyone, so they could only cooperate. Hee. Boy, you really don't want to do things the hard way. Today, I'll let you know why flowers are so red. Don't worry, I won't kill you. At most, I'll beat you half to death. The dark-skinned man slowly walked over, his eyes full of contempt. He threw a punch at Zhuowen's nose. The dark-skinned man looked down on Zhuowen, so his punch was very casual and slow. But even so, he was still wrapped in the power of the first blight. It was enough to kill a peak powerhouse from Skyrend. Zhuowen sneered in his heart. This dark-skinned man was too arrogant. He actually threw a punch so casually. He was really courting death. When the dark-skinned man's fist was inches away, Zhuowen's right hand seemed to have teleported and appeared above the dark-skinned man's fist. His palm contained a mysterious purple light and he easily caught the dark-skinned man's huge fist. Hey! You actually caught it. It seems that you really hid your strength well. The dark-skinned man revealed a look of surprise, but soon, a sinister smile appeared on his face. His body erupted with terrifying energy and crackling sounds rang out. Boom! The dark-skinned man's fist erupted to an extremely terrifying degree in a short period of time. He wanted to directly penetrate Zhuowen's right hand. Unfortunately, he soon discovered that this move was not enough. The purple light in Zhuowen's palm became even more intense, like a purple sun. Then, the dark-skinned man felt an astonishing pain from his right fist. His right fist had been crushed by Zhuowen's palm and blood splattered everywhere. Poochie. The moment Zhuowen crushed the dark-skinned man's fist, his right hand clenched into a fist and directly punched out, slamming into the dark-skinned man's right hand. Suddenly, purple light erupted from the fist and turned the dark-skinned man's right hand into a bloody mist. The dark-skinned man was in a very sorry state. He constantly retreated and blood splattered everywhere. It looked like a sprinkler that had leaked and spilled all over the ground. "Brother Chen, are you okay?" Another middle-aged man quickly came behind the dark-skinned man and caught him. Only then did he stabilize the dark-skinned man. Among the 5 people, this middle-aged man's cultivation was only higher than the dark-skinned man's. His cultivation was at the late stage of the first blight and could only be ranked second to last among the 5 people. He had the best relationship with the dark-skinned man. At this moment, when he saw the dark-skinned man being beaten to such a state by Zhuowen, his eyes were filled with shock and anger. No, at this moment, the dark-skinned man's eyes were filled with horror and his face was unbelievably pale. In his body, there was a terrifying energy that was constantly raging, destroying his internal organs. That was the shattered divine power that was surging and exploding in the dark-skinned man's body. In the end, the dark-skinned man screamed and his entire body exploded into a bloody mist. Chapter 3505. Battle. The middle-aged man was too miserable. He was splashed with blood, and his sternum was heavily hit by a powerful explosion, causing it to cave in. Poochie. The middle-aged man spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face was unbelievably pale. He crashed heavily onto the ground, his body trembling, and his aura was weak. What happened? The three cultivators who were standing on the other side were shocked when they saw the dark-skinned man explode and the middle-aged man get caught in the explosion. The city lord, Duan Chengyao, who originally wanted to watch a good show, stiffened at this moment. He never thought that an accident would happen. "You're a half-step heaven-breaking cultivator?" Duan Chengyao stared fixedly at Zhuoan, and asked word by word, but his heart was filled with waves. This Zhuoan was so young, and it was already a miracle that his alchemy skills had reached the half-step heaven-breaking level. However, this guy's cultivation had also reached the half-step heaven-breaking level. Was this defying the heavens? In the square, everyone was also stunned, and they also felt that it was inconceivable. Bu Yangrong, who was in the group of elders, felt even more bitter. He knew that Zhuoan had killed a tanned man, and was already irreconcilable with Pillar Ray Immortal City. Duan Chengyao would not let him go. Moreover, his and Zhu Wenlin's fate would also be very miserable. Zhuoan's gaze was cold. He looked at Duan Chengyao, and said indifferently, "City Lord Duan, I, Zhuoan, have no intention of becoming enemies with your Pillar Ray Immortal City. Now that I've already gotten what I need, if you let me go, then I won't find trouble with your Pillar Ray Immortal City, and we can even become friends in the future." Duan Chengyao's gaze was gloomy, and he said eerily, "Zhuoan, you make it sound so easy. You killed a half-step heaven-breaking cultivator of my Pillar Ray Immortal City, and you even took the remnant of the true Pillar Ray record, and you want to leave just like that? You're really delusional." "Oh. Then what you mean is that you still want me to stay? Could it be that you're not afraid that I'll kill all the remaining half-step heaven-breaking realm experts in your Pillar Ray Immortal City? At that time, it'll be too late for you to regret," Zhuoan said indifferently. But Duan Chengyao sneered repeatedly and said, "You're really confident, to actually have delusions of wanting to kill other half-step shattering heaven realm powerhouses. If it wasn't for Chen Saitan's carelessness, would you have found the opportunity to kill him? You don't have the chance now." As Duan Chengyao spoke, he waved his right sleeve. Immediately, a series of array discs flew out. They turned into a long dragon and formed a powerful boundary around Zhuoan. The surface of the realm was glowing with a translucent light. It was quite extraordinary, and it was actually a half-step heaven-breaching spell formation. Duan Chengyao walked to the edge of the domain with his hands behind his back. He said to the white-haired old man and the other two, "What are you waiting for? Take him down." Originally, the white-haired old man was still in a daze because the swarthy man was destroyed, and had yet to react. Now, Duan Chengyao's shout immediately woke them up, and they immediately shot out explosively, splitting into three directions and launching their strongest attacks at Zhuoan. At the same time, Duan Chengyao already dragged out the heavily injured middle-aged man and instructed the first elder of Immortal City, Yu Jinghuan, to arrange for this middle-aged man to be treated. Yu Jinghuan was naturally respectful and reverent, bringing the middle-aged man down. And Jiang Pinghui, who followed beside Yu Jinghuan, looked at the figure facing the three great half-step heaven-breaking realm powerhouses within the realm, and sighed lightly in her heart. She knew that this Zhuoan couldn't escape today even if he grew wings, and was dead for sure. F***CK. This brother is actually so fierce. If I knew earlier, I wouldn't have looked down on him. Who knows if he'll bear a grudge in his heart? Chu Xiangdi was somewhat guilty. Previously, when he encountered Zhu Wenlin and Zhuoan, he spoke bluntly to that Zhuoan. Now that he thought about it, he felt guilty. However, this boy is going to be a dead man soon, and he won't have the chance to find trouble with me. Chu Xiangdi glanced at that powerful realm, and then looked at the three half-step heaven-breaking realm powerhouses that were jointly attacking Zhuoan, and he was very relieved. Of these three half-step heaven-breaking realm powerhouses, the weakest was a second blight powerhouse, and the strongest, that white-haired old man, was an early-stage third blight powerhouse, much stronger than that tanned large man and middle-aged man. With the three of them working together, no matter how heaven-defying Zhuoan's methods were, he would still have to nurse a grievance. Bu Yangrong and Zhu Wenlin were both frightened, and their faces were pale without any color. Especially Bu Yangrong, his whole body was trembling uncontrollably because he noticed Duan Chengyao's gaze faintly looking in his direction. That gaze was very cold, and this made him feel even more guilty. Zhuowen stood in place. He didn't summon his doppelganger, and instead used his human main body to resist these 3 half-step heaven-breaking realm powerhouses. His human main body's cultivation had already reached the peak of the first blight, and his strength had increased explosively. Added with his shattered divine power, it was enough to defeat the majority of second blight powerhouses. The white-haired old man's speed was extremely fast, and he took the lead, arriving in front of Zhuowen in an instant. "Thief, you're very bold, actually daring to kill people in Pillaray Immortal City. You're practically seeking death." The white-haired old man's voice was cold. He wore metal gloves on his hands, and these gloves were very extraordinary. They looked a little damaged, but they had an ancient and vicissitude aura, and they also erupted with an extremely terrifying aura. This definitely wasn't an ordinary half-step heaven-breaking realm god tool. Boom! The white-haired old man threw a punch, and it actually exploded with countless beastly roars, as if there was an endless amount of terrifying primordial beasts in this punch. Moreover, these beastly roars were very terrifying, loud and resounding. Many cultivators in the square were affected by these beastly roars, and their entire bodies seemed to have become sluggish, and they stopped in place. Some were even bleeding from their 7 orifices, and their hands covered their ears. Zhuowen's eyes narrowed, and he stomped his right foot, and his entire body turned into a purple shadow. The white-haired old man's punch landed on the purple shadow, and only then did he realize that what he hit was only an afterimage. Zhuowen's body shot out like lightning, and he swept towards a cultivator on the right. This was a rather young man with a white face and no beard, but he had a head of white hair. Especially his white eyebrows, they drooped down on both sides of his face, making him look very comical. This white-haired young man's cultivation wasn't bad, and he had already reached the early stage of the second blight. "Hee. You dare to attack me, you're very bold." The white-haired young man revealed a sinister smile, and his aura became even stronger. Zhuowen shrugged, and said, "Because you're the weakest of the 3, of course I'll start with you." The white-haired young man was furious, and his aura exploded. This kid's mouth was really unforgiving, and the words that came out of his mouth made him gnash his teeth in hatred. He really wanted to slap this kid to death. Boom! The white-haired young man's natal divine weapon was a silver longsword. When the sword was swung, the sword chi spread across hundreds of millions of miles, as if it could tear the entire sky apart. Countless sword chi burst out and attacked Zhuowen like rain, instantly enveloping Zhuowen from all directions. Zhuowen took a deep breath, and all the apertures on his body opened up, and streams of purple chi burst out. Instantly, the purple chi attached to the surface of his body, forming a mysterious and brilliant purple battle suit. Chapter 3506. True Strength. Bang! 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 The sword chi was very dense and all of them landed on Zhuowen's body. However, they were all blocked by the purple armor and countless purple sparks flew out. On the other hand, Zhuowen took a step in the air and charged out from the sword chi like a demonic god. He grabbed at the white-haired youth. "You're courting death." The white-haired youth sneered as he stabbed out with the sword in his right hand and aimed at Zhuowen's forehead. He was confident that this attack was enough to completely kill Zhuowen. However, he soon found that what he stabbed was an illusion. Not good. The moment he stabbed the illusion, he immediately realized that something was wrong. There was a terrifying sonic boom from the back of his head. He merely moved his head to the side, and a palm surging with purple light appeared on his shoulder. Poochie. His shoulder was directly smashed into a bloody mist, dripping with blood, and he screamed miserably. What made the white-haired youth even more terrified was that a mysterious and powerful force entered his body and destroyed everything in his body, causing his movements to become slightly sluggish. What kind of power is this? Why is it so strange? The white-haired youth was puzzled and stunned. While he was in a daze, Zhuowen's fist came crashing down once again, smashing into the space between his brows, destroying his spirit and destroying his physical body. Zhuowen's current strength was much stronger than before. It was too easy for him to instantly kill a first and second blight cultivator. He only needed 1 or 2 moves to destroy the body and divine soul of a first and second blight cultivator without any chance of survival. However, A third blight cultivator was much more difficult to deal with. Even though Zhuowen's cultivation had greatly increased, he still needed to kill a third blight cultivator many times before he could completely destroy their divine soul. "You bastard, you're courting death." The white-haired elder saw that the white-haired youth was instantly killed and roared in anger. He decisively charged at Zhuowen. Zhuowen and the white-haired elder's fists collided. He grunted and couldn't help but retreat. It was indeed a bit difficult for him to deal with a third blight cultivator with just his human body. The reason why he was able to kill a third blight cultivator was mainly because he had fused with his avatar. His strength had increased to a terrifying level, and that was why he was able to do it so easily. Now, he was only using his human body, so his strength was naturally weaker. It was still a bit difficult for him to deal with a third blight cultivator. However, Zhuowen's speed was very fast. This was a great benefit brought to him by the primordial chant. The instant Zhuowen retreated, his entire body turned into a purple shadow, bypassing the gray-haired old man and rushing towards another cultivator. This cultivator was a middle-aged man with large nostrils. He was burly and looked like an ancient beast. His cultivation was a bit stronger than the white-haired youth's second blight. When the middle-aged man saw Zhuowen pounce at him, his heart trembled. He didn't even fight and immediately chose to retreat. Furthermore, he retreated very quickly. The scene of the white-clothed youth being easily killed was still vivid in his mind. Although he was a bit stronger than the white-haired youth, there was a limit to it. If Zhuowen could instantly kill the white-haired youth, he could naturally instantly kill him. He didn't dare to fight Zhuowen head-on. Unfortunately, the ideal was full, but the reality was very harsh. So what if the middle-aged man retreated quickly? His speed was far from being Zhuowen's match. Not long after, Zhuowen caught up to him and threw a punch at the middle-aged man's forehead, intending to destroy him with a single punch. The middle-aged man began to panic. His hands blocked in front of him and he was directly turned into a bloody mist by Zhuowen's punch. The broken divine power mercilessly invaded the middle-aged man's body, causing him to scream. His heart was filled with terror and he completely lost his will to fight. What happened next was too simple. The middle-aged man lost his will to fight and couldn't use his strength at all. Zhuowen easily killed the middle-aged man with a few punches. When the middle-aged man exploded into a bloody mist and Zhuowen was bathed in a rain of blood, the square became completely silent. 5 half-step heaven-shattering cultivators surrounded Zhuowen, and 3 of them were killed on the spot, while the other was already heavily injured. Now, only a white-haired old man remained. At this moment, Du and Cheng Yarrow, who was standing outside the realm, couldn't sit still. Their pill-array immortal city only had 6 half-step heaven-breaking cultivators. Now, 3 of them had died. They lost half. This loss was too serious. Du and Cheng Yarrow also didn't expect things to develop to this point. He thought that the white-haired elder and the other 2 could easily take down Zhuowen, but he didn't expect that not only did they fail, but they also lost 2 second blight cultivators. This was truly a double whammy. "Elder Hong, what are you still doing? Quickly kill this child for me." Du Cheng Yarrow was filled with anger, and his tone became very cold. At the same time, Du Cheng Yarrow took out formation flags and began to set up a half-step heaven-breaking killing formation in the realm. He wanted to directly annihilate Zhuowen to vent the hatred in his heart. He didn't even consider capturing Zhuowen alive and making him his servant. He had already lost his mind and only wanted to kill Zhuowen. The white-haired elder was also filled with anger. He roared again and again, and the killing intent in his eyes seemed to materialize. The aura of an early-stage third blight cultivator was completely revealed. It was very extraordinary and terrifying. Zhuowen stood in place. He noticed the terrifying killing intent coming from the realm and knew that Du Cheng Yarrow was going to set up a killing formation. If he continued to drag this out, it would only be very disadvantageous for him. He had to end this quickly. "Old fart, I'm not playing with you anymore. I'll directly kill you." After saying this, Zhuowen immediately summoned his doppelganger from the great world. A black-clothed clone stepped out from the void behind him and suddenly entered the main body's body. The 2 merged into one. Boom. Instantly, Zhuowen's aura skyrocketed to a terrifying level. A terrifying storm vortex appeared in the air around him as if it could tear everything apart. At this moment, the white-haired elder had already arrived not far from Zhuowen. His fists surged with terrifying killing energy as if they could kill all living beings. "You're dead, little bastard." The killing intent in the white-haired elder's eyes was very terrifying. It was as if it had materialized. He had already punched towards Zhuowen's forehead. Zhuowen took a deep breath and also punched out. Purple light lingered around his fist, but his body was sparkling and translucent. When his human main body and clone merged together, his strength increased by hundreds or thousands of times. It was simply too terrifying. Crack! The two fists collided. The white-haired elder's gloves were torn apart, and his right fist and right hand directly exploded into a cloud of blood mist. Poochie! The white-haired elder spat out a mouthful of blood in disbelief. His eyes widened as he stared at Zhuowen in front of him. He couldn't believe it. He felt that it was inconceivable. How did Zhuowen's strength suddenly increase so much? Zhuowen had fallen into a disadvantageous position when they were exchanging blows earlier. But now, he had actually shattered his right hand with a single punch, tearing it into a bloody mist. This was truly a little too frightening and shocking. Chapter 3507. Duan Chengyaro attacked R. The white-haired old man screamed miserably. His face directly shattered, and his head exploded, turning into a bloody mist. He became a headless corpse. However, the old man was a third blight cultivator. Although he was only at the early stage, his source energy was extremely strong and he wouldn't die so easily. The headless corpse of the white-haired old man floated into the air, and a new head began to grow in the headless place. The white-haired old man's recovered head had an expression of extreme pain. He quickly retreated and looked at Zhuowen with a terrified gaze. He felt that this was unbelievable. He was an early-stage third blight cultivator, but he was heavily injured by this person in one move. Just how terrifying was this person? Furthermore, the white-haired old man was also puzzled by the fact that when he had exchanged a punch with Zhuowen earlier, he had still been fiercely suppressing his opponent. But now, it was like Zhuowen had taken an aphrodisiac. His strength suddenly erupted and he was heavily injured. He really couldn't understand. "Old man, you barked so happily just now. Now, call me again." Before the grey-haired old man could react, Zhuowen flashed before the grey-haired old man like a bolt of lightning, and a punch blasted out. It gave rise to countless terrifying gales that were like countless blades, and it was extremely terrifying. The old man screamed in horror and quickly retreated, but unfortunately, how could his speed compare to Zhuowen's? Zhuowen caught up with the white-haired old man in an instant, and unceremoniously punched him in the face, shattering his skull once again. After that, Zhuowen struck out a few times successively, and he directly blasted the old man apart and obliterated him into nothingness. This continued until the old man's soul and body were completely obliterated to the point of being unable to recover. "Ah, Zhuowen, this old man won't let you go even if I become a ghost." Before the old man died, he let out a miserable scream and cursed Zhuowen. In the end, he couldn't be more dead. At this moment, outside the domain, Duan Chengyao, who was about to finish setting up the killing formation and was only one step away from completing it, was so angry that his eyes turned red and he spat out a mouthful of blood when he saw the white-haired old man completely killed. The killing formation, which was about to be completed, suddenly collapsed, and everything was for naught. "Zhuowen, you dare to kill my Pill-Array Immortal City's people? You have guts." Duan Chengyao almost lost his mind. Their Pill-Array Immortal City had a total of 6 half-step heaven-breaking realm experts. Now, 4 of them were completely killed and 1 was half-crippled. Now, he was the only Pill-Array Immortal City Lord left. This loss was too great. It was a huge blow to the Dan-Array Immortal City. It would affect the foundation of the Dan-Array Immortal City. Duan Chengyao was filled with hatred. He had underestimated Zhuowen's strength and killed the old man. At the same time, Duan Chengyao felt regret. He regretted that he was too impulsive. Facing Zhuowen, he directly used a forceful method to forcefully subdue him. If he knew that this Zhuowen was so strong, he wouldn't have used such a forceful method. Instead, he would have used a soft strategy to subdue Zhuowen. But now, everything was too late. The mistake had already been made, and it was very deep. Zhuowen looked at Duan Chengyaro with a strange gaze as if looking at an idiot. City Lord Duan, you directly ordered your subordinates to take my life. I was only acting in self-defense and accidentally killed them. Can you blame me for this? Shouldn't it be your own fault? Zhuowen said with a cold smile. Everyone in the square was dumbfounded. They didn't expect that the final result would be like this. That was 5 half-step heaven-breaking realm experts working together. In the end, they didn't take down this Zhuowen. Instead, they were easily slaughtered by this Zhuowen. F***ck, isn't this Zhuowen too awesome? He's actually so powerful. In the elder group, Bu Yangrong's gaze shook. He also felt that it was inconceivable, but it was more of a trace of joy. He was very clear that in this struggle, if Zhuowen had the upper hand, he would have a way to survive. If Zhuowen was captured or killed, it was very likely that he would die. Zhu Wenlin and Bu Yangrong's thoughts were the same. At this moment, they were also pleasantly surprised. Just what is this Zhuowen's background? How can he be so strong? At the front of the elder group, Immortal City's first elder, Yu Jinghuan, frowned deeply. He looked at everything that happened in the realm, the emotions in his heart complicated and difficult to understand. Jiang Pinghui, who stood beside Yu Jinghuan, was even more dumbstruck. The emotions in her heart were like surging waves, very uneasy. At this moment, Duan Chengyaro beside the realm flew into a rage. He looked at Zhuowen sinisterly and said coldly, Zhuowen, do you really think that no one in Pillar A Immortal City can deal with you? Don't think that just because you killed a few half-step heaven-breaking realm cultivators, you're invincible. In my opinion, you're still just a frog at the bottom of a well. As Duan Chengyaro spoke, he stepped into the realm, and the aura on his body suddenly erupted. Duan Chengyao's aura was very terrifying, much more terrifying than the white-haired old man. Wherever his aura spread, countless space and time would be annihilated, forming terrifying black holes around him. The Immortal City Lord has made his move. I think this Zhuowen is finished. The Immortal City Lord is a peak third blight expert. Coupled with his powerful array Dao skills, his strength is comparable to an ordinary fourth blight expert. He is the undisputed number 1 expert of our Pill Array Immortal City, EN. With the Immortal City Lord making his move, this child indeed has no chance. Sigh. If the Immortal City Lord had made his move earlier, those few people might not have needed to be sacrificed. This Zhuowen is really lucky, he even dragged a few people down with him. In the square, everyone's eyes lit up when they saw Duan Chengyaro enter the realm. Their eyes were bright, and they looked forward to the battle that was about to happen in the realm. In the crowd, Zhu Wenlin's body trembled, and his heart was full of sighs. He knew that this Zhuowen was most likely doomed. Brother Zhu, you really have a good junior brother. He actually dares to act so unscrupulously in the Pill Array Immortal City. He doesn't put the Immortal City Lord in his eyes at all. Cold and mocking laughter came from behind Zhu Wenlin. Zhu Wenlin turned his head and saw Yu Ziqian with his arms crossed, looking at him coldly. Yu Ziqian was also deeply afraid of Zhuowen's battle achievements. He had even thought of a way to escape from the Pill Array Immortal City. After all, he had offended Zhuowen before. He was really afraid that this Zhuowen's strength could cover the sky with one hand. When the time came, he would act recklessly in the Pill Array Immortal City, and his life would be in danger. But now that Duan Chengyaro had made his move, he was completely at ease and began to cause trouble for Zhu Wenlin. Especially when he saw that Zhu Wenlin was frightened, Yu Ziqian was incomparably happy. He knew that Zhu Wenlin and Bu Yangrong were finished. Chapter 3508. Dimensional Explosion Slap. Yu Ziqian stepped forward and slapped Zhu Wenlin. Then, he took out a disc array that he had prepared earlier. Zhu Wenlin originally wanted to retaliate, but the disc array had already landed around him. It then exploded, forming rings of golden ropes that bound him to the spot. Zhu Wenlin was caught off guard. His limbs were bound and he fell to the ground. He kept struggling, but unfortunately, he couldn't break free. Bang bang bang. Yu Ziqian took a step forward and kicked Zhu Wenlin mercilessly. His words were filled with insults. The surrounding people watched in silence. No one helped. Even some of Zhu Wenlin's close friends had indifferent looks on their faces. They had no intention of stepping forward to help. Zhu Wenlin's heart was filled with despair. He knew that he had fallen into a state of isolation and helplessness. Even if he was beaten to death, no one would come to his aid. At the same time, Bu Yangrong was in a similar situation. Yu Ziqian's father, Yu Yuanqing, was the first to make things difficult for Bu Yangrong. He used Bu Yangrong as an excuse to cover up for Zhuowen's participation in the Immortal City Grand competition. In the end, it led to such a disaster. He called for the other elders to arrest Bu Yangrong. Bu Yangrong was weak and his strength could only be considered average. Soon, he was captured by the other elders. His limbs were bound and he lay on the ground. Grand Elder, Bu Yangrong has ulterior motives. This kind of person should be executed immediately as a warning to others. Great Elder, please allow me to personally exterminate this traitor. Yu Yuanqing asked for instructions from Yu Jinghuan. He righteously declared that he was enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens. Bu Yangrong was anxious. He said, Grand Elder, you haven't investigated this matter clearly. You can't come to a conclusion so early. Moreover, even if I'm suspected of covering up, I can only be punished after the trial results are out. Also, Yu Yuanqing is using his position to avenge a private grudge. He wants to use this opportunity to kill me. I hope Grand Elder can judge clearly. Yu Yuanqing snorted coldly. Bu Yangrong, your skin is really thick. Everyone can see the mistakes you've made. Why do you need to be judged? People like you don't deserve to die. As he spoke, Yu Yuanqing took a step forward. His eyes were filled with killing intent. He planned to execute Bu Yangrong on the spot. However, Yu Jinghuan stood in front of Yu Yuanqing. Yuanqing, this matter can only be decided after the trial. Right now, you still can't decide Bu Yangrong's life and death. Yu Jinghuan said indifferently. Yu Yuanqing smiled embarrassedly and did not attack. Instead, he said with a smile, I'll follow First Elder's arrangement. Yu Jinghuan nodded and said, capture Bu Yangrong for now. Once the city governor deals with Zhuowen, we'll let the city governor make the decision. Yu Yuanqing hurriedly agreed. His eyes were filled with anger, but he did not dare to show it. After all, Yu Jinghuan was the first elder. Her status and power were far above his. How could he dare to disobey her orders? Master, the Immortal City Lord has made his move. Suddenly, Jiang Pinghui spoke, and it instantly attracted the attention of Yu Jinghuan and the other elders. Everyone in the square also focused their attention on the bounded domain. At that moment, Duan Chengyao's aura had soared to its peak. Then, he took a step forward and rushed toward Zhuowen as fast as lightning. The current Duan Chengyao was too terrifying. He was like an ancient giant beast. His pressure swept out, and the surrounding bounded domain trembled violently, emitting strange sounds. Zhuowen's eyes were solemn. Duan Chengyao was definitely the strongest opponent he had encountered so far, second only to Sakyamuni, 3 Pure Ones, Black King, and the other top experts. Although Zhuowen's strength had improved rapidly, he knew that he could at most fight with an ordinary Fourth Blight expert. Whether he could win was still unknown. Boom! Zhuowen activated the primordial chant and adjusted his condition to the best. Then, he suddenly punched out, and it was like thunder. In just an instant, Zhuowen and Duan Chengyao collided, and an unprecedented explosion erupted. It was too terrifying. It spread in all directions, and the extent of the shaking of the bounded domain was even more terrifying. Bang! 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 The moment Shuo Wen and Duan Chengyao collided, the two of them exchanged dozens of blows in an instant. Each of their blows was extremely terrifying. Zhuowen's eyes were solemn. Duan Chengyao's strength was already at the peak of the third blight. And coupled with Duan Chengyao's super high level of array Dao, each attack was wrapped in powerful array Dao restrictions. It was very difficult to deal with, and it multiplied the power. If Zhuowen's array Dao wasn't weaker than Duan Chengyao's, he would have been completely suppressed. However, even so, Zhuowen was still at a disadvantage because Duan Chengyao's array Dao was still stronger than Zhuowen's, and his cultivation was also stronger than Zhuowen's. At this moment, it was reasonable for him to suppress Zhuowen. But Zhuowen wasn't weak. Although he was suppressed, it was impossible for Duan Chengyao to defeat him in a short time. Moreover, during the battle between Zhuowen and Duan Chengyao, he was constantly evolving the primordial chant. His perception was too terrifying. Even during normal times, his perception was many times stronger than that of ordinary cultivators. And now, during the battle, the probability of him comprehending was even higher. It was possible for him to enter an epiphany again, which would allow his cultivation to advance further. After all, Zhuowen was now an extraordinary person, and he couldn't be explained with common sense. Zhuowen's body was purple. Although he was suppressed, he became braver as the battle went on, and his eyes gradually revealed a look of enlightenment. Duan Chengyao's eyes were gloomy, and he was shocked. This boy's strength was somewhat beyond his expectations. Furthermore, he did not know if it was his misperception, but he discovered that Zhuowen's strength was rapidly increasing during the course of the battle. The speed was extremely fast. This guy is in an epiphany. Duan Chengyao saw the look of enlightenment in Zhuowen's eyes, and he was shocked. The probability of him entering an epiphany during the battle was too small. Moreover, this boy was fighting in an epiphany, and his strength was even more terrifying, which caught him off guard. No, I must interrupt this boy. Duan Chengyao felt the pressure. In his current state, he could only barely suppress Zhuowen. If he allowed Zhuowen to successfully break through, then wouldn't he be suppressed instead? This was something he absolutely couldn't allow. Realm, explode. Duan Chengyao suddenly blasted Zhuowen back, and then he took a step out of the realm. His hands formed seals, and he actually detonated the realm. At the same time, he waved his sleeve, and the surrounding spectators were all brought away from the central area. Boom! Boom! The realm exploded, and blazing white light shot into the sky, tearing the sky and illuminating the entire alchemy array Dao domain. It was too dazzling. Fart! Amidst the terrifying explosion, Zhuowen suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The surrounding explosive energy was too terrifying, and it was eroding Zhuowen's body. Zhuowen's eyes were slightly clear. He took out defensive divine artifacts from his great world, and used the profound creation mysterious light to surround himself tightly, and continued to enter an epiphany. He had reached a critical moment, and he absolutely couldn't stop. Otherwise, all his efforts would be in vain. As long as he successfully advanced this time, then Duan Chengyao would undoubtedly be defeated, and he could easily defeat him. Boom! 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 Duan Chengyao stood in the distant void with his hands behind his back. He looked at the dazzling explosion in the distance with a mocking smile. This boy still wants to fight with me. In the end, he will still die in my hands. Chapter 3509. The second decay. Amidst the terrifying realm explosion, energy swept out and space shattered. Zhuowen was in the midst of this terrifying explosive energy, bitterly holding on. The defensive divine artifacts surrounding him were shattering and collapsing one after another. Zhuowen's eyes were dazed. He was still in a state of epiphany, leaving only a small part of his mind to pay attention to everything in the outside world. I'm about to break through. Hold on a little longer, Zhuowen muttered to himself. He began to take out the chaos crystal and frantically absorbed the chaos energy. His aura was constantly strengthening, surpassing the aura of the peak of the first decay. Crack! Finally, the last defensive divine artifact around Zhuowen shattered. The explosive energy in the surroundings surged like a tidal wave, instantly drowning Zhuowen. Zhuowen's body was shrouded in purple light. After he cultivated the primordial mantra, the profound creation mysterious light that he used had also turned purple. Its power had increased countless times. The profound creation mysterious light barely helped Zhuowen block the explosive energy, but the purple light was quickly fading. Clearly, it couldn't hold on for long. When the profound creation mysterious light was completely annihilated, Zhuowen's eyes suddenly opened. In the depths of his eyes, there was a mysterious purple light surging. It was blazing and deep. The chaos crystal in Zhuowen's hand had completely turned into dust. Its energy had been completely absorbed by Zhuowen. This chaos crystal was left over from the last time Zhuowen had absorbed it. It only had 1/3 of its energy. Now that Zhuowen had absorbed it, he had absorbed all the energy in the chaos crystal. Because of this, he had successfully broken through. Boom! Zhuowen's aura was extremely vast. The purple light spread out in all directions like a tide, forming endless purple ripples. Zhuowen knew that he had already advanced to the second decay. Next, the second decay would descend from the depths of the universe. I'm afraid the blight this time is going to be terrifying. Zhuowen couldn't help but smile bitterly when he recalled the first decay. At that time, even the gung metal sword rain had appeared. It was really unexpected. This time, the blight would only be more powerful. Zhuowen's purple light soared into the sky, and the surrounding explosive energy was basically blocked by Zhuowen's purple light. When the energy of the explosion gradually dissipated, Zhuowen slowly walked out and stared coldly at the complacent Duan Chengyaro not far away. When Duan Chengyaro saw Zhuowen, his expression was very interesting. It was as if he had been petrified, standing still on the spot. As for the people in the square, they were all petrified and felt that it was inconceivable. The self-destruction of a half-step heaven breaker realm was enough to kill a third blight cultivator. Even someone at the peak of the third blight would be severely injured if they were hit by such an explosion. However, Zhuowen did not die. Although he looked miserable, he did not suffer too much damage. Oh my god! What kind of freak is this Zhuowen? He's actually still alive. At this moment, Yu Ziqian, who was holding the half-dead Zhu Wenlin, saw Zhuowen appear in front of him alive, and his whole body trembled. His legs went weak, and he almost fell to the ground. The elders in the distance were all dumbfounded. It was as if they had received an unprecedented blow. What's going on? This Zhuowen. Yu Yuanqing's body was also trembling. His hand holding Biyu Yangrong was also trembling. Zhuowen looked calmly at Duan Chengyao, who was also in shock, and said indifferently, "Old dog Duan, this is your final move? Is this all you've got? Are you trying to tickle me?" Duan Chengyao came to his senses and heard Zhuowen call him Old Dog Duan. He was furious. He was the lord of the Pillar Ray Immortal City, the true ruler of the Pillar Ray Immortal City. He was respected by tens of thousands of people, and his status was extraordinary and noble. When had anyone called him Old Dog Duan? However, someone was insulting him, and this person was the cancer he wanted to get rid of. Zhuowen, you're very lucky to be able to survive the realm explosion. I can't help but admire your good luck. Duan Chengyao's eyes were gloomy. He still looked down on Zhuowen. He felt that Zhuowen was only lucky enough to survive. That's right. My luck is indeed good. I also believe that I can rely on my good luck to destroy you, Old Dog Duan. Zhuowen sneered. He stepped out with his right foot and swept to Duan Chengyao's side in an instant. He threw a punch. Duan Chengyao snorted and waved his sleeve. Instantly, a series of Array Dao restriction runes surged out and easily blocked Zhuowen's attack. Duan Chengyao grabbed Zhuowen's fist and said contemptuously, "Zhuowen, I have to say that your strength is only SOSO. There is still a certain gap between you and me. You will lose if you fight with me." Duan Chengyao was high and mighty. However, he soon realized that something was amiss. This was because he saw Zhuowen's lips curl into a mocking smile. This smile contained disdain and ridicule. "What are you laughing at?" Duan Chengyao said coldly. "I'm laughing at your stupidity. You're as stupid as a pig," Zhuowen said with a faint smile. Duan Chengyao was furious. His eyes were filled with killing intent. He stirred up all the power in his body, wanting to completely kill Zhuowen. However, he soon felt that something was wrong. He discovered that in the depths of the starry sky, there was a terrifying power surging. Rumble. Suddenly, in the depths of the starry sky, a huge black hole appeared. Then, a terrifying energy descended from the black hole. This energy was too blazing. It was colorful and very bright. Of course, its power was also terrifying. Bad luck. You're actually going through a bad luck? Duan Chengyao's pupils shrank. He finally understood why Zhuowen was laughing at him. This guy deliberately lured him over to use the bad luck to trick him. Zhuowen, you're so naive that it's ridiculous. You're at most at the peak of the first bad luck. Just now, you only broke through the second bad luck. That's only the second bad luck. And I'm already at the peak of the third bad luck. Do you think this kind of bad luck will affect me? Duan Chengyao blasted Zhuowen away with a punch. The corner of his mouth was still filled with disdain and arrogance. He still looked down on Zhuowen. Oh, old dog Duan, you're very confident. However, you're going to cry later. Zhuowen sneered. He was very clear about how terrifying his bad luck was. When he was going through the first bad luck, a second bad luck expert who forced their way into his bad luck was instantly annihilated. Now, his second bad luck would only be more terrifying. Duan Chengyao definitely wouldn't gain any advantage if he faced it head-on. Rumble. At this moment, the second bad luck had already descended. It was colorful and filled with powerful energy, forming a terrifying energy vortex. Duan Chengyao didn't escape. His eyes were locked on Zhuowen. The corner of his mouth was filled with bloodthirst. Zhuowen, you'll definitely die today. Your bad luck has no effect on me at all. As he spoke, Duan Chengyao didn't care about the descending bad luck at all. He directly pounced on Zhuowen. With a wave of his sleeve, he threw out array discs, forming a terrifying restriction spear. It tore through the air and rushed towards the space between Zhuowen's eyebrows. Zhuowen cursed in his heart. This old dog Duan is a good-for-nothing. Launching an attack in this bad luck, does he really think he's immortal? However, Zhuowen didn't dare to be negligent. The pores on his body contracted and his muscles tensed up, preparing to defend against the upcoming bad luck and Duan Chengyao. He didn't dare to take the initiative to attack. He put all his energy into defense. This was also to save energy. Rumble. Chapter 35:10. Heaven enlightening divine lightning. Zhuowen's entire body was covered in purple light. Both of his palms quickly struck out. Every palm strike landed on the spear's handle, and he was constantly pushed back. Powerful palm energy surged out. The restriction spear that was rushing towards him finally could not hold on under Zhuowen's last palm strike, and it collapsed with a loud bang. As for Duan Chengyao, he was following closely behind the restriction spear. After the restriction spear was completely destroyed by Zhuowen, Duan Chengyao decisively struck out. He punched towards Zhuowen's forehead. Zhuowen was helpless. He could only block Duan Chengyao's punch. With a groan, he could not help but take a few steps back. Duan Chengyao revealed a pleased smile. He originally wanted to attack further and kill Zhuowen, but the energy of the decay tribulation had already descended. The second decay tribulation is simply too weak to withstand a single blow. Duan Chengyao did not put the decay tribulation in his eyes. With a wave of his sleeve, he casually blocked the energy of the decay tribulation. Poochie. But very quickly, Duan Chengyao's expression changed. His attack was instantly broken through by the decay tribulation. Following that, his right hand was directly annihilated by the decay tribulation energy. Duan Chengyao let out a blood-curdling scream and quickly retreated. However, the decay tribulation seemed to have locked onto him. It chased after him relentlessly and did not let him go. At this moment, Duan Chengyao was in a very sorry state. He was being chased by the decay tribulation. He was clenching his teeth in pain, and smoke was rising from his head. As for Zhuowen, he was not much better off. He was also howling in pain from the blight tribulation. However, because of Duan Chengyao's interference, a portion of the decay tribulation's energy was split by Duan Chengyao. Therefore, Zhuowen did not feel that much pressure from the decay tribulation. At this moment, The entire sky above Danaray Immortal City was surrounded by the terrifying decay tribulation energy. The terrifying energy was like a huge ring-shaped sun that was constantly rotating. It illuminated the entire Immortal City as if it was daytime. All the cultivators in Pillaray Immortal City were shocked. They didn't expect the blight tribulation to suddenly descend. Furthermore, this blight tribulation was a little too terrifying. The blazing energy completely submerged Duan Chengyaro and Zhuowen's figures. It was impossible to see their exact positions. They could only vaguely hear Duan Chengyaro and Zhuowen's miserable cries coming from above. This is Zhuowen's misfortune. This is only the second blight. How can it be so terrifying? Immortal City's Grand Elder Yu Jinghuan was in disbelief. The moment the blight descended, he could see that this was the second blight. It was clear that Zhuowen was only a first blight cultivator from the start. With this kind of cultivation, he could actually kill an early-stage third blight cultivator. This guy was too heaven-defying. What was even more heaven-defying was that this child's blight tribulation caused even Duan Chengyaro to cry out in pain. He was unable to break free and was surrounded by the blight tribulation. Grand Elder, rumor has it that heaven-defying geniuses are too powerful and can fight above their realm. They are envied by the heavens, and their blight tribulations are extremely terrifying. This child might be such a heaven-defying genius. Among the group of elders, an elder said softly to Yu Jinghuan, recounting an ancient rumor. Yu Jinghuan's eyes became serious and he bitterly said, "I'm afraid we have provoked someone we shouldn't have provoked." Yu Jinghuan agreed with this elder's words. He also thought that this Zhuowen was too heaven-defying. He was only at the first blight, yet he had such terrifying battle strength. Now that this child was going through his blight tribulation was so abnormal. Once this fellow successfully passed his blight tribulation, even the city lord, Duan Chengyaro, might not be this Zhuowen's match. The blight tribulation lasted for a very long time. After 3 days and 3 nights, the terrifying blight finally showed signs of weakening. The light gradually faded. Everyone in the city used their eye techniques and immediately noticed the 2 people in the blight tribulation. They were surprised to discover that although Zhuowen's flesh was lacerated, and he appeared to be dripping with blood, and appeared to be in a rather miserable state, his aura was unceasingly rising. Moreover, the life force on his body was also growing stronger and stronger, surging over and rapidly healing the injuries on his body. On the other hand, the city lord, Duan Chengyao, was scorched black and his aura was weak. He had been beaten black and blue by the blight tribulation and was extremely weak. However, Duan Chengyao was still the city lord. He took out many half-step heaven-breaking pills and swallowed them as if they were free. His vitality was quickly recovering. Duan Chengyao stood up and looked at Zhuowen. The killing intent in his eyes was monstrous and terrifying. He now completely understood that he had been used by Zhuowen to go through his tribulation. This feeling of being set up made him very depressed. He felt like he was suffocating, and he just wanted to vent it out. "Zhuowen, you dare to trick me. You'll pay the price." Duan Chengyao roared. He kicked off with his right foot and continued to rush toward Zhuowen. At this moment, Zhuowen's eyes suddenly opened. His eyes were filled with a strange purple light. Zhuowen turned his head and looked indifferently at Duan Chengyao, who was rushing over. The corners of his mouth revealed a mocking smile. Duan Chengyao was approaching Zhuowen. When he saw the smile on Zhuowen's face, his heart skipped a beat. He was all too familiar with this smile. This was the same smile this kid had when he lured him into the blight tribulation. Now, he was smiling again. Could it be that he was going to trick him again? Humph. The blight tribulation is over. This kid has nothing else to rely on. He's just bluffing. Duan Chengyao comforted himself and forced himself to calm down. His aura erupted like a tide, and he swooped down toward Zhuowen. "Old dog Duan, it seems like you don't have a good memory at all." Zhuowen threw out a punch and punched Duan Chengyao. Zhuowen made use of the momentum of the punch to retreat. At the same time, he hooked Duan Chengyao with one hand and entangled him tightly. "You! What are you trying to do?" Duan Chengyao felt that something was wrong and began to struggle. Of course, I want you to help me pass the tribulation, Zhuowen laughed. Duan Chengyao's pupils constricted. Then, his scalp went numb. He felt an even more terrifying energy surging in the depths of the starry sky. Rumble. Suddenly, a golden divine thunder descended from the depths of the starry sky. It was as thick as a bucket and blasted Duan Chengyao directly. Sizzle. 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 The golden electric current flowed through Duan Chengyao's body. Duan Chengyao screamed. His whole body convulsed. His body was charred black and his hair stood on end as if he was roasted. Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. He quickly let go of Duan Chengyao and quickly retreated. However, another golden divine thunder descended from the depths of the starry sky. This time, it chased after Zhuowen. It was like a golden python that instantly coiled around Zhuowen. Zhuowen's body trembled and he cursed in his heart. His entire body was charred black and countless electric currents flowed on the surface of his body. Damn, it's actually the apocalyptic golden lightning. I'm only in the second blight, and this kind of blight energy actually descended. You damn heavens, you're trying to kill me. Zhuowen grimaced. He took out a jade bottle and swallowed a healing elixir. He circulated the primordial chant and quickly healed his injuries. At the same time, he cursed loudly and pointed his middle finger at the depths of the starry sky. The apocalyptic golden lightning. This kind of blight energy was usually only used in the fourth blight. Now, it had directly descended in Zhuowen's second blight. This was the rhythm of death. Chapter 35:11. Sharing it's the heaven enlightening lightning. This should only appear in the fourth decay. This is too illogical. Yu Jinghuan, the great elder of the immortal city, was dumbfounded and did not know what to say. The heaven enlightening lightning was too terrifying. Even if it was him, if he was struck by the heaven enlightening lightning, his body and soul would be destroyed and he would be dead. As for the immortal city lord, Duan Chengyao, with his high cultivation, he would be severely injured by the heaven enlightening lightning. Everyone in the Pill-Array immortal city retreated with tacit understanding, leaving the city one after another. The heaven enlightening lightning was too terrifying. If it accidentally struck the immortal city, the entire city would be destroyed. If they continued to stay in the immortal city, they would be courting death. Just in case, it was better to leave the city as far as possible. Moreover, some cultivators were even more outrageous. They almost ran to a place where they couldn't see the city anymore before giving up. In the sky above the immortal city, countless golden lightning bolts surged and surrounded the city. These strands of lightning were like shackles that firmly locked down the sky above the Pill-Array immortal city. It was as if the ground had been drawn into a prison and turned into a world of golden lightning. Duan Chengyao complained. He was trapped in the heaven enlightening lightning and could not escape. He was constantly struck by lightning and he was in a terrible state. Every time he was struck by lightning and vomited blood, he could only use the healing pills on him to quickly recover. Only then could he withstand the next wave of golden lightning. However, Duan Chengyao knew that if this continued, he would not be able to hold on for long. He would be struck to death easily. Just like that, he would become the first immortal city lord to be struck to death by lightning. This was too humiliating. He did not want to die in such a humiliating way. This guy, when Duan Chengyao looked at Zhuowen, he was stunned because Zhuowen had actually withstood the bombardment of the golden lightning. Zhuowen's body was crystal clear and surrounded by a dense purple light. He looked like a purple jade statue. Countless bolts of golden lightning struck Zhuowen's body, causing his flesh to split open and leaving him in a miserable state. However, Duan Chengyao was very observant. He could tell that although Zhuowen's physical body was in a miserable state, his physical body was very special and could recover extremely quickly. Furthermore, he discovered that Zhuowen's body seemed to have absorbed a small portion of the golden lightning after it had been split open by the golden lightning. Isn't this guy a human? How can his physical body be so strong? Duan Chengyao's heart trembled. He found it unbelievable. Zhuowen's physical body was a little too strong. He didn't seem like a human at all. Instead, He seemed more like an alien. At the same time, Duan Chengyao felt a sense of crisis in his heart. He felt that this Zhuoan could not be left alone. He knew very well that even if he could survive the tribulation of the Tianqi divine lightning, he would still be severely injured. However, after Zhuoan survived the tribulation, his strength would increase exponentially. The injuries on his body would recover rapidly because of the breakthrough. When that time came, he would be finished. Thinking of this, Duan Chengyao's eyes turned cold. He began to drag his injured body closer to Zhuoan. He had a lot of healing elixirs in his spirit ring, and all of them were half-step heaven-breaking divine pellets. He knew that he had to kill Zhuo when before he was severely injured. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the chance to do so. Finally, Duan Chengyao spent a lot of effort and was very close to Zhuoan. He swallowed a healing elixir and adjusted his body to its peak state. Then, Duan Chengyao attacked. His right hand formed a palm, and his target was Zhuoan's heart. However, the moment Duan Chengyao's right hand approached Zhuoan, it was immediately grabbed by Zhuoan and pulled back. City Lord Duan, you are still so kind. You came to help me share the burden of the divine lightning, right? Zhuoan smiled and grabbed Duan Chengyao's right hand tightly. Boom! Several bolts of heaven enlightening divine lightning descended and landed on Zhuoan with a loud boom. The golden lightning exploded from Zhuoan's body and spread to Duan Chengyao's body in an instant. F***CK. Zhuoan, you bastard, let go of me. Duan Chengyao's body, which had just recovered with the help of the elixir, was once again split open. He was bleeding and screaming in pain. His body was charred black. Zhuoan was also in a miserable state. His body, which had just recovered, was also split open by the golden lightning. His bones were almost visible. However, Zhuoan's body was not ordinary. It was the Pangu sacred body, a middle-stage 9-star Pangu sacred body. The toughness of his body had reached a terrifying level. Duan Chengyao was almost unable to resist. His whole body was trembling and his eyes rolled back. Zhuoan was in a much better state than Duan Chengyao. Originally, he wanted to get rid of Duan Chengyao directly. However, he was now paralyzed by the golden lightning. It was difficult for him to move and the energy in his body was not flowing smoothly. He could not unleash his killing power at all. Zhuoan saw a shining ring on the middle finger of Duan Chengyao's right hand that he was grabbing. He knew that it was Duan Chengyao's spiritual ring. He took off the spiritual ring with difficulty and slapped Duan Chengyao's face, sending him flying. After Duan Chengyao was sent flying, another golden lightning bolt fell from the sky. This golden lightning bolt did not hit Zhuoan but Duan Chengyao. Duan Chengyao screamed in pain like a pig being slaughtered. It was very miserable. Zhuoan took advantage of the interval between the golden lightning bolts and quickly unlocked the spiritual ring. He was pleasantly surprised to find that there were many precious elixirs in the spiritual ring. There were many half-step heaven-breaking elixirs in the spiritual ring. There were also some bottles and jars, most of which were half-step heaven-breaking elixirs. There were also many other precious resources. Zhuoan was dumbfounded. He could not help but admire the wealth of the immortal city lord. There were so many resources in the spiritual ring alone. These resources were much more than the total amount of resources in his great world. I'm rich. Zhuoan was wild with joy. He immediately took out a healing elixir from the spiritual ring and swallowed it. This was a half-step heaven-breaking elixir. Its rich medicinal power merged into Zhuoan's body and rapidly healed his injuries. Combined with Zhuoan's powerful recovery ability, most of the injuries on Zhuoan's body were healed in a short time. Although Zhuoan also had a half-step heaven-breaking elixir, the rebirth elixir, which he had just refined, it was not a healing elixir. It did not have much effect on Zhuoan's recovery. However, most of the elixirs in Duan Chengyao's spiritual ring were half-step heaven-breaking elixirs. They were extremely effective. Not far away, Duan Chengyao, who was grimacing in pain from being struck by the golden lightning, also realized that his spiritual ring had been stolen. Zhuoan, how dare you snatch my spirit ring? Hurry up and return it to me. Duan Chengyao was mad with anger. That spiritual ring contained many of his important belongings. Its value was immeasurable. Now that it had been stolen by Zhuowen, it was truly too painful. Return it to you? Sure. Zhuowen grinned. He took a step forward and rushed toward Duan Chengyao. At this moment, the golden lightning had just struck, and Zhuowen had already withstood it. There was still some time before the next wave of golden lightning struck. Zhuowen's injuries were completely healed under the effects of the half-step heaven-breaking elixir. At this moment, his essence, energy, and spirit had reached their peak. Chapter 35:12. Dumbfounded. Duan Chengyao realized that something was wrong when he saw Zhuowen dashing toward him. He started to retreat without caring about his injuries. City Governor Duan, why are you running away? I'm here to return your spiritual ring. Zhuowen smiled mockingly as he approached Duan Chengyao. Duan Chengyao was really frightened. He said hurriedly, just throw the spiritual ring to me. You don't have to come over. How can I do that? I must return it to you personally. Zhuowen was all smiles, appearing very amiable. However, his speed was very fast, and he was rapidly approaching. Bang! Duan Chengyao was seriously injured, so he was not as fast as Zhuowen. Soon, Zhuowen caught up with him. Zhuowen stomped on his face. Puff! Duan Chengyao spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground with his head down. Before he could react, Zhuowen had arrived and stomped on Duan Chengyao's head. Duan Chengyao's head, which was just about to lift up, was stomped into the ground again. City Governor Duan, I haven't returned your spiritual ring. Why are you so polite? You even prostrated yourself in front of me. I'm a little embarrassed. Zhuowen said indifferently. Duan Chengyao kept struggling. Unfortunately, Zhuowen was too strong. His head was still in the ground and could not be pulled out. Boom! 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 At this moment, terrifying golden lightning surged in the depths of the starry sky again. It was dazzling and brilliant. Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. He immediately took out several beast bone array discs and set up a confinement array to imprison Duan Chengyao. At the same time, he mercilessly punched Duan Chengyao in the back of his head. Duan Chengyao saw stars and fainted. Boom! 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 The apocalyptic divine lightning struck again. This time, there were 108 bolts. They merged into a huge golden lightning dragon that filled the starry sky. Damn it! Isn't this a little too terrifying? Zhuowen's gaze turned serious. He took a step forward and leaped into the starry sky. He punched out fiercely. The primordial incantation combined with the 5 profundities instantly unleashed a peerless might. Bang bang bang! The golden lightning dragon was smashed and exploded into a golden rain of lightning. Then, the lightning dragon roared and roared, splashing out even more terrifying lightning energy in all directions. As for Zhuowen, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was filled with electricity, and his entire body was instantly charred black. However, Zhuowen was very stubborn. He swallowed the healing elixir again to resist the lightning dragon. Then, he started to absorb the terrifying energy from the lightning dragon with his Pangu sacred body and turned it into his own. Just like this, Zhuowen and Lei Long were in a deadlock for several hours. Finally, the golden lightning dragon let out a roar. It was unable to outlast Zhuowen, and it collapsed with a loud bang, turning into countless golden lightning strands. Zhuowen fell from the sky and smashed onto the ground. His entire body seemed to have fallen apart. He looked extremely charred like charcoal. Zhuowen lay on his back for a long time. Only then did he realize that a mysterious power came from the void and quickly poured into his body. His almost dead body began to quickly recover. Moreover, this power was constantly helping him improve his cultivation. In an instant, his cultivation rose from the peak of the first blight to the early stage of the second blight, and then to the middle stage. This tribulation was too terrifying. After Zhuowen survived, he obtained great benefits. He directly advanced to the middle stage of the second blight, and his strength skyrocketed. Zhuowen patted the dust off his body. He took out a new set of clothes from the great world and put them on. Then, he walked toward Duan Chengyaro, who was not far away. At this moment, Duan Chengyaro was still in a trance. His entire body was in a daze. Zhuowen didn't just hit the back of his head. He also used a powerful divine sense to attack Duan Chengyao's divine sense. Otherwise, Duan Chengyaro wouldn't have fainted so easily. Zhuowen lifted Duan Chengyaro up and very straightforwardly tore apart Duan Chengyao's foundation. Then, he casually threw him on the ground. The intense pain caused Duan Chengyaro to wake up. His face was pale, and his forehead was covered in cold sweat. His lips were white and trembling. My foundation was destroyed. Duan Chengyao's face was ashen. He sensed something. He looked at Zhuowen and shouted hysterically. Unfortunately, Duan Chengyaro was too weak. He couldn't even stand properly. He could only shout there. He didn't have the ability to attack Zhuowen at all. At this moment, the blight tribulation had already subsided. Those cultivators who left the Pillar Ray Immortal City to avoid the blight tribulation had all returned. They wanted to see what was going on between Zhuowen and Duan Chengyao. That Zhuowen should be finished. City Lord Duan is the City Lord after all. In addition to that terrifying blight tribulation, Zhuowen will die even if he doesn't. Yu Ziqian carried the half-dead Zhu Wenlin and followed the crowd towards the Pillar Ray Immortal Monarch's pavilion. He had always believed that Duan Chengyaro would win. He had blind confidence in Duan Chengyaro. Under Yu Jinghuan's lead, the Elder Council was also rapidly approaching the Pillar Ray Immortal Monarch's pavilion. The elders of the Council of Elders were all excited. Their thoughts were similar to Yu Ziqian's. Those who were approaching the Pillar Ray Immortal Monarch's pavilion were inclined to believe that Duan Chengyaro would win. When the blight tribulation happened, the entire Pillar Ray Immortal City was surrounded by terrifying energy. It was impossible to see what was happening inside. Therefore, they didn't know that Duan Chengyaro was now a cripple. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Soon, the crowd arrived at the square near the Pillar Ray Immortal Monarch's pavilion. The Pillar Ray Immortal Monarch's pavilion was still standing. In the terrifying blight tribulation, the Pillar Ray Immortal Monarch's pavilion was still intact. This showed how extraordinary this building was. After all, it was the Pillar Ray Immortal Monarch's cave abode. The other buildings around the Pillar Ray Immortal Monarch's pavilion had long been destroyed. Not even ruins remained. The Pillar Ray Immortal Monarch's pavilion stood there alone. It seemed lonely and cold. At this moment, on the flat ground in front of the Pillar Ray Immortal Monarch's pavilion, a figure stood like a spear. It was like a statue that had existed since ancient times. As for the other figure, he was kneeling on the ground and screaming hysterically. His voice was very miserable. Ha! That Zhuowen is kneeling and begging for mercy. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have done it. Yu Ziqian was very excited. The two figures had their backs facing him. Moreover, the surroundings were filled with smoke, so he couldn't see clearly. He was extremely fast and was the first to enter the square. He carried Zhu Wenlin and laughed, thinking that the figure kneeling on the ground was Zhuowen. However, as Yu Ziqian stopped in the square, the smoke gradually dissipated. His eyes narrowed and his entire body froze on the spot. It was as if he had turned to stone. What did he see? Why did he have such an expression of disbelief? One after another, cultivators arrived at the square. They were all petrified and froze on the spot. They saw clearly that the figure who stood like a spear was Zhuowen. The person who was screaming hysterically was their most respected immortal city lord, Duan Chengyao. What's going on? Yu Jinghuan had also arrived with the elders. When she saw this scene, she was dumbfounded and asked subconsciously. Thud thud thud. At this moment, Zhuowen moved. He slowly walked toward Duan Chengyao. Chapter 35:13. Cleaning Zhuowen. Stop it. He is the city lord. What are you trying to do? Yu Jinghuan reacted and shouted, trying to stop Zhuowen. Zhuowen held Duan Chengyao in one hand and looked at Yu Jinghuan from the corner of his eyes. Seeing the latter trembling in fear, his voice became softer. Ha! I'll return the city lord to you. Zhuo Wen's gaze was calm as he threw the half-dead Duan Chengyaro towards Yu Jinghuan. Whoosh! Duan Chengyaro shot out like a missile and smashed heavily into Yu Jinghuan's body. Yu Jinghuan was prepared. He gathered energy in his hands and tried to catch Duan Chengyaro. Crack! However, as soon as Yu Jinghuan's hands came into contact with Duan Chengyaro, he sensed a vast and terrifying energy attack him. His hands were directly broken, and his body was heavily smashed by Duan Chengyaro, causing him to fly away. Splat! Yu Jinghuan fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Duan Chengyaro screamed in pain and struggled. Unfortunately, Duan Chengyao's injuries were too serious. After struggling for a while, he couldn't stand up. He could only lie on the ground like a dead worm. Grand Elder, Immortal City Lord, are you all right? The elders of the Elder Committee stepped forward and helped Yu Jinghuan and Duan Chengyaro to their feet. Yu Jinghuan shook his head and said, I'm fine. I'm only slightly injured. Go and see how City Lord Duan is doing. Great Elder, City Lord Duan's foundation has been destroyed. His cultivation has been destroyed. He has become a cripple. An elder reported in fear. What? His foundation has been destroyed. Yu Jinghuan stared and hurried to Duan Chengyao's side. He found that the latter's foundation had been destroyed. At this moment, Duan Chengyao had already fainted from the impact and was unconscious. Zhuowen, aren't you a little too ruthless? How dare you destroy City Lord Duan's foundation? Among the elders, Yu Yuanqing's eyes were red. He glared at Zhuowen and shouted angrily, Pa! However, as soon as Yu Yuanqing finished speaking, he was slapped to the ground by Zhuowen. His cheeks swelled up, and he spat out a mouthful of blood mixed with his teeth. His entire body twitched uncontrollably. You have guts. You are also very stupid. Even at this time, you still dare to stand out and criticize me. You're simply courting death. Zhuowen's voice was very calm and filled with coldness. Just as Yu Yuanqing was about to get up, Zhuowen slammed his palm down again. Yu Yuanqing was suppressed and slammed into the ground face first. It was as if he was embedded in the ground. All the bones in his body were shattered. He lay there motionless, clearly half dead. The elders of the Elder Committee trembled in fear, not daring to say a word. This Zhuowen in front of them was a ruthless person who had consecutively killed 5 half-step heaven-breaking realm powerhouses. Even the immortal City Lord Duan Chengyaro had been crippled by this person. In the entire Pill Array Immortal City, he was already unrivaled. Who allowed you to tie up Elder Bu Yangrong? Zhuo Wen said with a cold expression when he saw Bu Yangrong tied up behind the elder group. The elders of the Elder Committee were shocked, and they hurriedly untied Bu Yangrong. Lord Zhuo, this was Yu Yuanqing's idea. He was the one who insisted on capturing Bu Yangrong. We didn't agree at that time. After untying Bu Yangrong, the elders of the Elder Committee hurriedly explained themselves and pushed all the blame to Yu Yuanqing. According to what you said, Yu Yuanqing indeed deserved to die. Zhuowen's voice was calm. With a flick of his finger, a purple flame swept out and landed on Yu Yuanqing, who was still lying on the ground. Ah! Yu Yuanqing screamed miserably. His entire body was enveloped by the purple flame, and he was quickly burned to ashes. He couldn't be more dead. Seeing this scene, the Elder Committee and the people on the square trembled with fear in their eyes. Among the crowd, Yu Ziqian knelt on the ground in fear. His father was killed just like that, and he knew that his ending wouldn't be much better than Yu Yuanqing's. I have to run. Yu Ziqian roared in his heart. Without even thinking, he abandoned Zhu Wenlin and ran into the depths of the crowd. Zhuowen glanced sideways at Yu Ziqian's fleeing figure and said indifferently, Yu Ziqian, did I say you could leave? Yu Ziqian, who was originally running for his life, stopped the moment he heard this voice. However, he quickly ran even faster. Unfortunately, a purple flame was faster than him. It landed on his body and burned him to ashes. Zhuowen undid the shackles on Zhu Wenlin's body. Zhu Wenlin hurriedly walked to Zhuowen's side and stood beside Bu Yangrong respectfully. At this moment, Bu Yangrong and Zhu Wenlin's feelings were very complicated. Zhuowen actually had the last laugh, and even the Celestial City Lord had been defeated by him. Zhuowen, what are you trying to do? You killed half-a-step heaven-breaking realm cultivators of my Pill-Array Immortal City and even crippled the Celestial City Lord. What is your goal? Yu Jinghuan's eyes were red, and he couldn't help but roar. Shouldn't you ask your beloved Celestial City Lord this question? At first, he forced me to stay, and after I declined, he wanted me to become his slave. In the end, he even wanted to kill me to silence me. What? Now, I was just defending myself and accidentally crippled the Celestial City Lord. I even killed a few half-step heaven-breaking realm cultivators. Is it all my fault? Zhuowen sneered and mocked him without holding back. He had no intention of becoming enemies with Pill-Array Immortal City, and he had already made it clear. Unfortunately, the Celestial City Lord, Duan Chengyao, was too greedy and wanted him to stay, making him Duan Chengyao's free labor. Yu Jinghuan was silent. This matter was indeed started by Duan Chengyao, and he had nothing to say. But you took away the true Pill-Array record remnant of our Pill-Array Immortal City. That's a priceless treasure. How could we allow you to take it away as you wish? Yu Jinghuan said in a low voice. Isn't the rule of the Grand Competition of Immortal City to give away 3 ancient records in the Pill-Array Immortal Residence? I have the strength to reach the top floor and obtain the true Pill-Array record remnant, so I didn't break the rules. It's reasonable. Could it be that your Grand Competition of Immortal City is a joke? You want to return the ancient records after taking them? Zhuowen sneered. Yu Jinghuan remained silent. Zhuowen wasn't wrong. After all, the remnant Pill-Array true record was obtained by Mo Wuji with his own strength. If they wanted to forcefully take it back and even force Mo Wuji to join the Pill-Array Immortal City, they were indeed going overboard. This time, I'll teach your Pill-Array Immortal City a lesson. You have to understand that with my strength, Zhuowen, it's not difficult for me to slaughter your Pill-Array Immortal City. Once these words were spoken, the entire square was in an uproar. Everyone revealed a look of fear. They were really afraid that Zhuowen would slaughter the entire city. Yu Jinghuan was even more flustered. He quickly begged Zhuowen for mercy, telling him not to act recklessly. He hoped that he would let the other people of the Pill-Array Immortal City go. Don't worry, I, Zhuowen, am not a bloodthirsty person. Today's matter was caused by Duan Chengyao, so I'm only looking for him to settle the score. I won't touch any of you. But if anyone dares to protect Duan Chengyao, then don't blame me for being impolite. Zhuowen said, looking at Yu Jinghuan, his gaze was calm and cold. Yu Jinghuan bitterly smiled and let go of Duan Chengyao. The other elders also continuously retreated, distancing themselves from Duan Chengyao. Zhuowen lifted up the half-dead Duan Chengyao and said to Yu Jinghuan's elders, everyone, give me, Zhuowen, some face. Today's matter has nothing to do with Biyu Yangrong and Zhu Wenlin. I hope you won't make things difficult for them. Chapter 35:14. Refining the 6 Desires Spirit Congealing Pill. The elders looked at each other and smiled bitterly, saying that they did not dare to do so. With a ruthless person like Zhuowen around, they really did not dare to touch Biyu Yangrong and Zhu Wenlin. Zhuowen nodded. Just as he was about to leave, Duan Chengyao, who was in his hand, woke up. A surge of violent energy came from Duan Chengyao's body. Zhuowen, I won't let you go even if I die. Duan Chengyao roared. His whole body emitted a blazing light like a sun. Oh no. Duan Chengyao is going to self-destruct. Biyu Yangrong and Zhu Wenlin's faces changed. Zhuowen's eyes narrowed. Purple light surged in his right palm and entered Duan Chengyao's body. The terrifying shattering divine power, in a tyrannical manner, quickly destroyed everything in Duan Chengyao's body, including his meridians and organs. The self-destruct energy in Duan Chengyao's body was suppressed by the shattering divine power. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Zhuowen suddenly threw Duan Chengyao into the sky. A purple flame surged out from his finger and landed on Duan Chengyao's body, burning him to ashes. Everyone. See you again. Zhuowen casually finished this and left the Alchemy Array Immortal City, leaving behind a dazed crowd. Zhuowen spent a few days to leave the alchemy array Dao region and return to the host region. If he wanted to go to the old site of the heavenly armor star, he would have to pass through the host region's heavenly moat. The old site of the heavenly armor star was in the heavenly moat, near the border of the 8 heavenly regions, which was near the current monster region. However, after Zhuowen returned to the East Dao region, he did not immediately go to the heavenly moat. Instead, he found a quieter place and attached the Great World to an inconspicuous meteorite. He then entered the Great World. Rika was built in the southeast region of the Great World. The region was vast and rich in resources. During this time, Rika was completely stationed there. With the rich resources in the Great World, Rika's development was flourishing. Zhuowen looked at the territory where Rika was. His eyes flashed, and he thought for a long time. He knew that he would leave the lower star world in the future. However, Rika could not leave. The chaotic starry sky was too. The 100 outer domains were full of experts. Zhuowen, and the Rika, living in the world would be destroyed. Rika in the Great World, Rika, and Rika. Rika. Rika, in the Great World. Rika, Studio, and 2. But now, he couldn't completely let the Long family leave the Great World. He was not really invincible in the lower world. He still had many enemies, such as Wu Taiji, the master of the Wizard Tower in the Heaven Accessing Place. He was no match for him yet. Once he was truly invincible in the lower star world, he would eliminate all his enemies and let Rika live in the lower star world. At that time, Zhuowen, who had no more worries, would leave this place and enter the primal chaos cosmos. When Zhuowen entered the Rika base, Dragon Xiaotian, Lu Hantian, and the other Rika leaders came out to welcome him. They gave Zhuowen a warm welcome. Crepe Myrtle Star even came out of seclusion and gave Zhuowen a big hug. Crepe Myrtle Star's progress was fast. He was on the verge of a breakthrough. He only needed an opportunity to break through from the Master Late Stage to the Master Peak. Zhuowen gave Crepe Myrtle Star a Rank 8 Marrow Cleansing Immortal Pill. The Rank 8 Marrow Cleansing Immortal Pill was a Master Peak Immortal Pill. It could help practitioners in the Master Late Stage enter a short period of enlightenment and increase their chances of advancing to the Master Peak. Crepe Myrtle Star was overjoyed after receiving the Rank 8 Marrow Cleansing Immortal Pill. He immediately went back to seclusion, intending to break through to the Master Peak. Zhuowen looked at Crepe Myrtle Star's back. He had learned that Crepe Myrtle Star had joined the Rika and had become the Rika's first Supreme Elder. His status was second only to Zhuowen. Currently, Crepe Myrtle Star was the strongest person in Rika. When he left the lower star world in the future, Rika would be under Crepe Myrtle Star's protection. Zhuowen naturally hoped that Crepe Myrtle Star's cultivation could progress further. Zhuowen, Dragon Xiaotian, Feng Xiao, Lu Hantian, and some other familiar relatives and friends chatted for a while and told them his intention to save Moyan Wushang. When you've gathered all the divine medicines for the 6 Desires Spirit Condensing Saint Pill? Feng Xiao's beautiful eyes brightened. She already knew about Moyan Wushang's situation. She knew that Moyan Wushang had deep feelings for Zhuowen. Now that she knew that Zhuowen wanted to refine the 6 Desires Spirit Condensing Saint Pill, she was naturally overjoyed. Long Xiaotian, Lu Hantian, and the others were also overjoyed. Moyan Wushang was their friend from that era. When they first learned that Moyan Wushang had lost his 6 desires and was unconscious, they were also sad for a long time. Now that they knew that Moyan Wushang was about to wake up, they were naturally very happy. For the next few days, Zhuowen basically stayed in his room to adjust his state. The 6 Desires Spirit Condensing Saint Pill was a top-tier ascending heaven-level divine pill. The difficulty of refining it was much higher than ordinary ascending heaven-level divine pills. Although Zhuowen's alchemy skills had reached half a step into ascending heaven level, this was related to Moyan Wushang's life. Zhuowen was very careful and could not afford to make any mistakes. When his state was at its peak, Zhuowen began to refine the pill. This furnace of divine pills, Zhuowen refined it for a full 10 days and 10 nights. He refined it very slowly and hoped that every step would be perfect. 10 days later, A strong medicinal power rushed out from Zhuowen's room and turned into a column that rushed into the depths of the sky. The momentum was very great and it attracted the attention of many Rika people. It seems that the pill is done. Dragon Xiaotian and Feng Xiao walked out of the room, looked at each other, and rushed towards Zhuowen. After a while, many Rika people gathered outside Zhuowen's door. Creak. The door of Zhuowen's room was pushed open, and Zhuowen's eyes lit up as he walked out slowly. Dragon Xiaotian and Feng Xiao hurried forward and asked, did it succeed? The corners of Zhuowen's mouth revealed a smile and said, succeeded. Wushang can be saved. Zhuowen was very happy. After so many years, he could finally wake Moyan Wushang up personally. Boom. Boom. At the same time, in another pavilion in Rika, a vast aura surged. Then, a terrifying energy appeared in the sky and continuously condensed. Then, it fell one after another, forming an earth-shattering tribulation. Hey! Someone is going through a tribulation. Who broke through? Lu Hantian looked at the terrifying tribulation in the distant sky and was puzzled. That's the tribulation at the peak of ascending heaven. Brother Crepe Myrtle has successfully broken through. Let's go. Zhuowen laughed and led everyone towards Crepe Myrtle Star, stopping at the periphery of the tribulation. Crepe Myrtle Star was indeed there. Although the tribulation was terrifying, Crepe Myrtle Star was not afraid at all. He had obtained the inheritance of the immortal bird and his combat power was monstrous. Chapter 35:15. Awakening Brother Ziwei. Congratulations on reaching the peak of Tongtian Lord Peak. Zhuowen stood in front of everyone and cupped his fists towards Ziwei Star Monarch, who had passed the heavenly tribulation, with a joyful smile on his face. Ziwei Star Monarch landed in front of Zhuowen and said sincerely, Brother Zhuowen, if not for your rank 8 marrow cleansing GU pill, I would not have been able to break through in such a short time. Ziwei Star Monarch was on the verge of breaking through, but he needed an opportunity. He needed at least hundreds of years of exploration before he could break through. But the rank 8 marrow cleansing GU pill provided by Zhuowen was too useful to him. It forcibly shortened the time to over 10 days, allowing him to successfully break through. We are brothers. I will help you if I can. Zhuowen waved his hand, telling Ziwei Star Monarch not to be so courteous. You have successfully refined the 6 Desires Spirit Condensing Saint Pill. When do you plan to give it to Wushang? Feng Shiyaro asked. Now. Zhuowen's eyes shone brightly. In Zhuowen's room, Zhuowen stood in the middle of the living room. Other than him, there were Long Xiaotian, Feng Shiyaro, Lu Hantian, Wu Dai and Ziwei Star Monarch. Ziwei Star Monarch also learned about Mo Yang Wushang from Lu Hantian's explanation. He was moved by Mo Yang Wushang's magnificent feat back then. Zhuowen gently took out a jade coffin. In the jade coffin, there was a beautiful woman lying quietly. The woman's eyes were closed, as if she had fallen into a sweet sleep. She was like a sleeping beauty. The moment he saw the woman, Zhuowen's lips trembled, his shoulders trembled, and tears flashed in his eyes. She was Mo Yang Wushang, the woman who had given up everything for Zhuowen. She was also a pain in Zhuowen's heart that he could not let go of. Zhuowen opened the coffin and fed the 6 Desires Spirit Condensing Saint Pill into Moyan Wushang's mouth. The elixir melted like snow and melted into Moyan Wushang's mouth. Then, the blazing power of the elixir filled Moyan Wushang's mouth and entered deep into her body. At that moment, Moyan Wushang's entire body was glowing. It was sparkling and translucent, like a crystal. It was dazzling and mysterious. Endless rays of light emanated from Moyan Wushang's body and surged in all directions. Zhuowen and the others retreated to the door. They looked at Mo Yang Wushang, who was glowing. They were very nervous. They hoped that a miracle would happen. They hoped that the 6 Desires Spirit Condensing Saint Pill would wake Mo Yang Wushang up. Time passed, and Zhuowen became more and more nervous. Moyan of Wushang's body was emitting a very strong light, and it was getting stronger and stronger. It enveloped the entire room. When the light gradually faded, Zhuowen and the others entered the vicinity of the jade coffin. Zhuowen was disappointed to find that Moyan Wushang's eyes were still closed. She was still in a deep sleep. When Wu Shong moved. Suddenly, Feng Xiao's beautiful eyes revealed a look of surprise. She reminded Zhuowen. Zhuowen's body trembled. His eyes fell on Moyan Wu Shong's hands. He was excited to find that Moyan Wu Shong's hands had indeed moved. Then, Zhuowen saw that Moyan Wu Shong's eyelashes began to move. Then, her eyelids, which had not opened for a long time, slowly opened. Zhuowen saw a pair of beautiful eyes. Moyan Wu Shong's beautiful eyes were full of confusion. She squinted her eyes, as if she had not adapted to the strong light here. Zhuowen, Moyan Wu Shong adapted to the strong light and finally saw the face of the man standing in front of her. Her beautiful eyes were at a loss at first, and then they revealed a look of surprise. She hugged Zhuowen. Zhuowen's eyes revealed tenderness. He gently hugged Moyan Wu Shong. The two did not speak for a long time. They just hugged like this, as if time had stopped. As for Long Xiaotian, Feng Xiao, and the others, they all consciously left the room. After a long time, Moyan Wu Shong released Zhuowen. Her beautiful face was full of crimson. Zhuowen, I was a little impulsive just now. I hope you don't mind too much. Moyan Wu Shong's eyes squinted. She did not dare to look at Zhuowen. She was a little shy. Zhuowen hugged Moyan Wu Shong and took a deep breath. He whispered in Moyan Wu Shong's ear, Wu Shong, you have to be careful. Are you willing to be my wife? Moyan Wu Shong had done too much for him. She had even lost her life because of him. Moreover, Moyan Wu Shong had never asked for anything in return. He knew that Moyan Wu Shong had done this because she liked him. He could completely imagine that a woman was silently sacrificing for him. But because of Mu Chunxue, she did not dare to approach him, let alone hope to be with him. She was only in the corner, looking at his back with envious eyes, silently wishing him and Mu Chunxue happiness. Zhuowen completely understood Moyan Wu Shong's feelings for him. This debt of love was too heavy. He had to repay it, and he had to make it up to Moyan Wu Shong. The moment Moyan Wu Shong heard this sentence, his mind went blank, and his delicate body trembled violently. This was because he was excited. Moyan Wu Shong didn't expect Zhuowen to say such words. Tears involuntarily fell from her eyes. She silently pushed Zhuowen away. Looking at the confused expression on the latter's face, she cried and shook her head, Zhuowen, I can't accept it. Zhuowen was at a loss. He took a step forward and said, Wu Shong, I know what you are worried about. I have already told Chen Shui about your matter. Chen Shui is willing to accept you. She is like a sister to you. You can coexist peacefully in the future. We can live happily together. Moyan Wu Shong's cheeks were full of tears. She was still retreating, and she stopped Zhuowen from approaching. Zhuowen stopped. He looked at the beautiful woman in front of him. He suddenly had a feeling that there was an invisible barrier between them. This feeling was very strange. It made Zhuowen feel a little irritable. Wu Shong, what happened? Zhuowen asked, somewhat puzzled. Moyan Wu Shong shook her head and said, Zhuowen, I just woke up. I am a little tired. Can you let me rest for a while? Zhuowen opened his mouth, but in the end, he nodded dejectedly. He took out a jade bottle from his sleeve and placed it on the table. These are all divine pills for strengthening one's foundation. Wu Shong, you just woke up and your vitality is weak. These divine pills will be of great benefit to you, Zhuowen said. Moyan Wu Shong took the jade bottle. Without looking at Zhuowen, she said, Zhuowen, thank you, I will accept these divine pills. You can leave first. Let me rest for a while. Zhuowen nodded and left the room. For some reason, Zhuowen felt that Moyan Wu Shong was a little strange after waking up. It was as if there was something that was hard to say. Why did you come out so quickly? Why didn't you accompany Wu Shong more? Outside the door, Feng Xiao, Long Xiaotian, and the others were all there. When they saw Zhuowen come out so quickly, they all revealed a look of surprise. They felt that it was very strange. Zhuowen smiled bitterly and said, Wu Shong just woke up. She said that she needed to rest, so I didn't disturb her. That's right. Wu Shong has been asleep for so long. Her mind is exhausted. We don't need to disturb her today. Let's come back another day. Feng Xiao nodded. She felt that Zhuowen's words were reasonable. Everyone dispersed. Before Zhuowen left, he took a deep look at Moyan Wushang's room. He sighed and entered another room in the courtyard. In the room, Moyan Wushang hugged her knees and cried silently. Chapter 35:16. Emotionless and desireless Moyan Wushang. Do you still not understand? Didn't I explain everything to you in your divine soul during the years you were in a deep slumber? You are the second desireless in this starry sky. Although you seem to have recovered, 6 of your 7 emotions and 6 desires were once severed. Now, if you want to sever them again, it will be much easier than before. Just the fact that you are a desireless means that you can't escape the responsibility that you bear. Although you don't have the bloodline of the newer clan in your body and you are a bastard, you have severed your 6 desires. Thus, you have the obligation to become a member of the newer clan. After you enter the newer clan, the king of our clan will completely change your bloodline and let you become a true member of the newer clan. That is a supreme honor, and this is also your only chance to leave this disgusting starry sky of the lower realms. An indifferent voice resounded in Moyan Wushang's divine soul. The source of this voice was actually an insignificant red dot in Moyan Wushang's divine soul. This red dot was very strange. It was soundless and had no aura at all. It was as if it was a part of Moyan Wushang's divine soul. If this red dot had any strange aura, Zhuowen's sharp divine soul would have noticed it long ago. I said that I don't want to leave this place. My friends and family are here. No matter how good the newer clan is, I don't want to go, Moyan Wushang said stubbornly. Hee. You have no choice but to go. You must know that our newer clan has implemented the emotionless and desireless plan for many starry sky fruit. There are simply too few people who can successfully become emotionless or desireless. Many people have died in many starry sky fruits, but not a single emotionless or desireless has appeared. However, this starry sky of the lower realms is somewhat inconceivable. In just a few eras, 2 desireless have appeared. You can't escape. You have to leave this place. Also, you know how powerful our clan is, right? As long as the experts of our clan descend, it will be easy to destroy this starry sky of the lower realms. If you are still so stubborn, after we take you away, we will directly destroy this starry sky fruit. Let it die prematurely. The red dot's voice sounded again. This time, it was a blatant threat. He felt that Moyan Wushang was too disobedient. No. You can't destroy this starry sky. Moyan Wushang, on the other hand, was terrified. While she was sleeping, she learned a lot from the red dot. She knew that they were only in the starry sky of the lower worlds. It was just one of the countless starry sky fruits in the primordial Hong Meng tree, so it was insignificant. In the vicinity of the primordial Hong tree, there was a world called the 100 Territories. In this world, there were far too many heaven-crushing cultivators. However, they could only be considered to be at the bottom of the hierarchy. There were even more powerful beings who were more powerful than the heaven-crushing stage cultivators. Each and every one of them could easily destroy the starry sky fruit on the primordial Hong tree. The newer clan behind the red dot was one of the clans in one of the 100 domains. There were many experts in the clan, so destroying the starry sky fruit they were in would indeed be a piece of cake. Haha. If you don't want this starry sky to be destroyed, then listen to me. The newer clan's experts will soon descend, and they will take you away. As long as you are obedient, this starry sky will be very safe. And that little lover of yours, you can't have an affair with him. Otherwise, he will die a horrible death. Your body must be complete and flawless. Only then can you accept the next trial. The moment you become a true merciless one, you will become the new goddess of the newer clan, and I will be the hero of the newer clan. At that time, we will enjoy unparalleled glory and wealth. The red dot's voice became very proud, as if it had thought of an ideal situation. Moyan Wushang, on the other hand, was dejected. However, he was silently apologizing to Zhuowen in his heart. In the next few days, Zhuowen went to find Moyan Wushang every day. However, The latter refused to see him because he had not rested well. Zhuo Wen gradually realized that something was wrong. Moyan Wushang's attitude towards him was too strange. Could it be that something had happened? Or did he do something wrong? Long Xiaotian, Feng Xiao, and the others also knew about Moyan Wushang. They also wanted to visit Moyan Wushang, but unfortunately, they were also refused. For more than 10 days, Moyan Wushang was almost cooped up in his room, refusing to see anyone. This made Long Xiaotian, Feng Xiao, and the others very depressed. However, they did not think too much about it. They all thought that Moyan Wushang had been sleeping for too long, and for a while, he had not adapted, so his temperament might have changed. Zhuowen, who had been refused entry for many days, finally did not knock on Moyan Wushang's door. His thoughts were the same as Feng Xiao and the others. They thought that Moyan Wushang should be allowed to recover. Zhuowen planned to leave the outside world and go to the old site of the heavenly armor star to find traces of Mu Chunxue. He did not want to delay this matter any longer. When Mu Chunxue was found, he planned to come with Mu Chunxue to find Moyan Wushang to have a heart-to-heart talk, hoping to help Moyan Wushang recover. Walking out of the outside world, Zhuowen went straight to the border between the host region and the heavenly moat. A few days later, Zhuowen arrived at the dock set up by the host region at the heavenly moat. The heavenly moat lay in front of him, like an abyss, so deep that he could not see the bottom. This heavenly moat was said to have existed since ancient times and had a long history. No one knew if there was an end to this heavenly moat. It was said that there was a cultivator who wanted to go deep into the heavenly moat to explore. After falling for decades, he still did not reach the bottom of the heavenly moat. In the end, he had no choice but to return. But today, the heavenly moat dock was actually sealed. On the dock, many cultivators gathered, all protesting. What's going on? Why is the dock sealed? Zhuowen casually asked a cultivator working at the dock. Fellow Daoist, don't you know? Recently, a strange beast suddenly appeared in the depths of the heavenly moat. This strange beast appears and disappears like a ghost. Its speed is extremely fast. Many cultivators who crossed the heavenly moat were all swallowed by this strange beast. Among them, there are many Dao-confirming experts. There are even heavenly master experts. The cultivator said in horror. Strange beast. What does it look like? Zhuowen was surprised. There were indeed many strange beasts in the heavenly moat, but their strength was very ordinary. When Zhuowen had just reached Dao confirming not long ago, he had crossed the heavenly moat without any danger. Generally speaking, cultivators above the Dao confirming realm could smoothly cross the heavenly moat. But now, even heavenly master cultivators had died in the hands of that strange beast, which made Zhuowen feel strange. When did such a terrifying strange beast appear in the heavenly moat? Even heavenly master cultivators were not its opponents. Chapter 35:17 The Heavenly Chasm. Fellow cultivator, I advise you to leave this place. Don't even think about going to the heavenly chasm. This place is an abyss of no return. When the cultivator saw that Zhuowen had no intention of leaving, he couldn't help but kindly remind Zhuowen to leave as soon as possible. Zhuowen smiled and nodded before continuing to walk towards the pier. Sigh. You really aren't afraid of death at all. Forget it, there will always be a group of people who don't believe in heresy. If they really lose their lives, then it's really over. The cultivator saw that Zhuowen wasn't listening to his advice and didn't say anything else. He just shook his head and sighed. At this moment, many cultivators had gathered at the pier. Most of these cultivators were planning to pass through the heavenly chasm and head to the demon realm. And in front of these cultivators, a middle-aged man was blocking the edge of the pier. At the same time, Zhuowen also discovered that there was a sealing power at the edge of the pier. This sealing power was quite extraordinary. It was a god of creation restriction. Everyone, I'm also thinking about your lives. A terrifying mutant beast has indeed appeared in the heavenly chasm. Even a powerful being from the heavenly chasm died in the mouth of this mutant beast. If you think you're stronger than the heavenly chasm lord, then pretend I didn't say anything. The middle-aged man suddenly released a powerful aura, instantly intimidating the noisy crowd. This person was actually a god of creation. Fellow cultivator, we're originally from the demon realm. We came to the Shen Mi heaven domain just to do some small business. When we first arrived, why wasn't there this mutant beast? Now that we're about to leave, you're saying that such a mutant beast suddenly appeared. This is too much of a coincidence. If this is true, then we deserve to die in the heavenly chasm. But if it's just a lie made up by you, then don't blame us for sending a message to the demon realm cultivators and asking them to come and take us back. At that time, you'll be responsible for it. An elder slowly walked out from the crowd. This elder's aura was not weaker than the middle-aged man's. In fact, he was even stronger. He was a peak god of creation. Beside the old man, there was a beautiful young girl. As soon as this old man appeared, everyone stopped talking. It was obvious that this old man's reputation was not low. Hearing this, the middle-aged man's expression changed slightly. If this matter really reached the ears of the cultivators from the demon area, he would be in big trouble. Since you insist on entering the heavenly moat, don't blame me for not warning you if anything happens. The middle-aged man's face turned slightly unsightly as he released the restrictions on the dock. There's no need for you to worry, fellow Daoist. The old man smiled. With a wave of his sleeve, he took out a huge flying divine artifact. Following which, the crowd on the pier followed the old man and entered the flying artifact. When Zhuoan saw this scene, he understood that these people should be caravans from the demon domain. They should be here to do business in the Shen Mi heavenly domain. The old man was obviously the leader of the caravan. After the barrier around the dock was lifted, Zhuoan took the opportunity to leave the dock. He took out his flying divine artifact and left the dock. Grandpa, look, that person doesn't seem to be from our caravan. He actually crossed the heavenly moat alone. On the deck of the caravan spaceship, the young woman beside the old man noticed Zhuoan leaving and couldn't help but speak up. The old man didn't care at all. Leah, don't worry about it. This person should be a cultivator from the Shen Mi heavenly domain. Maybe he wants to go to the demon area. His aura is not strong, yet he dares to cross the heavenly moat alone. He will most likely die in the heavenly moat. The young woman curled her lips and didn't pay much attention to Zhuoan. She trusted her grandpa's judgment. Since her grandpa said that this cultivator would die in the heavenly moat, then he would definitely die. She couldn't be bothered to pay attention to a dead person. Not long after Zhuoan left, the caravan spaceship also set off. The gravity of the heavenly moat was still very terrifying. Zhuoan also discovered that the gravity of the heavenly moat now seemed to be much more terrifying than when he had first arrived. In addition, the number of all kinds of strange beasts in the heavenly moat had also increased. There was no lack of strange beasts at the Dao validation realm. One had to know that when he had first entered the heavenly moat, there weren't many Dao validation realm strange beasts. They were relatively rare. Now, he could see them every once in a while. The heavenly moat has become much more dangerous than before. What happened? Zhuoan frowned. With the current level of danger of the heavenly moat, if Zhuoan was still at the heavenly Dao master level, he would probably die in the heavenly moat before he could cross 1/3 of the journey. Poochie. Zhuoan flicked his finger and killed a heavenly fate realm strange beast blocking his way. His expression didn't look good. He looked towards the depths of the heavenly moat. For some reason, he felt that there was an eye in the deepest part of the heavenly moat that was watching his every move. This feeling was very strong and lingered in Zhuoan's mind for a long time. This place is too strange. It's better to leave quickly. Zhuoan increased the speed of the spacetime roulette and instantly fled. He wanted to cross the heavenly moat in the shortest time possible. The current heavenly moat made him feel a little uneasy. He didn't want to stay here for too long. Boom. Not long after Zhuoan fled, a black bolt of lightning silently appeared in the depths of the heavenly moat and instantly struck the spacetime roulette. This black bolt of lightning was very strange. It wrapped around the spacetime roulette and emitted crackling sounds. It was like a giant hand that was pulling the spacetime roulette, causing it to suddenly stop moving forward. Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. The black bolt of lightning flowed along the surface of the spacetime roulette and entered the roulette to attack Zhuowen. Zhuowen's eyes were cold as he punched out. Purple light surged and directly hit the black bolt of lightning. Crack, crack, crack. What surprised Zhuowen was that when his fist landed on the black bolt of lightning, the black bolt of lightning immediately dissipated. It was simply too weak. Then, Zhuowen tore at the black bolt of lightning and completely annihilated it. Hey! This black bolt of lightning contains a trace of fragmented divine power. Although it's very weak, its power is unparalleled. It has surpassed the energy of the heavenly Tao. Zhuowen's eyes were filled with surprise. He had originally thought that he was the only one who could use fragmented divine power in this galaxy. But now, he had discovered a second case. Although the fragmented divine power in the black bolt of lightning was extremely thin and far inferior to the primordial chaos technique that he cultivated, it was still extremely impressive to be able to contain a trace of fragmented divine power. Its energy level had already surpassed most of the living beings in this galaxy. Zhuowen put away the spacetime roulette and his gaze fell on the depths of the heavenly moat again. It was pitch black there and nothing could be seen. However, Zhuowen was extremely excited as if he had discovered a new continent. He no longer moved forward. Instead, purple light flickered around his body and he began to rapidly descend. He wanted to find the source of the black bolt of lightning and see what was causing trouble. Roar! In the depths of the heavenly moat, a black figure slowly opened its eyes. This pair of eyes was black and the same color as the surroundings. The black figure roared and its voice was filled with a trace of anxiety. Then, the black figure suddenly rushed out and disappeared into the depths of the heavenly moat at an extremely fast speed. This heavenly moat is really dark. It's almost bottomless. Chapter 35:18. Black Dragon. Suddenly, Zhuowen sensed a violent fluctuation. Then, he discovered that there was a fierce gust of wind in the darkness below, and something was rushing over from the darkness below. Zhuowen's divine sense was very alert, and he immediately reacted. Then, he punched out, and the purple intent exploded, colliding head-on with a terrifying object below. Bang! 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 The black shadow below roared, and instantly broke through the purple intent, rushing toward Zhuowen. Meanwhile, Zhuowen had already quickly retreated. It was too dark below, and although his divine sense was alert, it was already suppressed by a mysterious power, so he did not have the advantage above. So fast. Not long after Zhuowen retreated, he discovered that the black shadow had already appeared behind him, and a huge tail suddenly swept over. Its target was the back of Zhuowen's head. Zhuowen instantly used the 5 great mysteries of Pangu, and punched out, fiercely colliding with the tail, and a terrifying energy ripple exploded. Meanwhile, Zhuowen continuously retreated, falling into the depths of the darkness. Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. He had somewhat guessed the black shadow's goal. It wanted to make him go into the depths of the darkness, and then attack him. He was very clear that the deeper he went into the darkness, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. Zhuowen did not even think, and summoned his clone to merge with his main body. His aura instantly skyrocketed, and his strength rose steadily. Boom! Zhuowen punched out, and like a rising purple sun, it was dazzling, and it was difficult to look at directly. The black shadow that originally had the upper hand was repeatedly pushed back by Zhuowen's punch, and it was actually suppressed by Zhuowen. Bang! 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 The two instantly tangled together, and each collision was like the collapse of heaven and earth. The surrounding darkness seemed to tremble and disperse. It was too terrifying. Roar! Roar! The black shadow continuously roared. It was very angry that it was actually suppressed by a mere human. At the same time, the black shadow also felt that it was inconceivable because it discovered that the human in front of it actually had the power of shattering God. This was a power that could only be grasped by breaking heaven-tier elites, but this human clearly had not broken heaven, and actually had this level of power in advance. Wasn't this a bit too heaven-defying? Trying to escape. Zhuowen's divine senses were sharp, and he immediately sensed that the shadow was trying to escape into the darkness. He took a step forward and blocked the black shadow's path. He punched out again and again, and the purple light from his fists filled the sky, illuminating the surroundings into a mysterious purple world. The black shadow was helpless. Its speed was terrifying, but it couldn't shake off the human in front of it. Zhuowen cultivated the primordial chaos art. The speed of his movement technique was absolutely one of the best under this starry sky. Although this black shadow was extremely fast, it was only about the same speed as him. Zhuowen punched out again and again, and the black shadow was completely suppressed. Moreover, it was beaten by Zhuowen to the point that it could only retreat towards the top of the natural chasm. Soon, the two of them left the dark area of the natural moat. Zhuowen finally saw the true face of the black shadow. This was a black dragon that was several thousand feet long. This black dragon was very strange. The scales on its surface were actually metal, and there was a strange and terrifying black lightning on the metal scales. And this black lightning was not unfamiliar to Zhuowen. It was the black lightning that contained a sliver of shattered divine power that had attacked him at the beginning. Zhuowen's expression was strange as he looked at this black dragon. He felt that this black dragon was not like a living creature of flesh and blood, but more like a kind of mechanical metal life form. This was because the scales on the surface of this black dragon were basically exuding a metallic luster. If it didn't move, it would definitely be mistaken for a black dragon statue that was forged from metal. Roar. The black dragon roared, and the black lightning around its body became denser. In an instant, the area of several billion miles was covered by black lightning, forming a domain of black lightning. Looks like it's for real. Zhuowen's body flickered with purple light, resisting the terrifying black lightning around him. His gaze was solemn as he looked at the black dragon that was charging towards him. He was not afraid. He took a step forward and instantly engaged in battle with the black dragon. The domain of black lightning was too big, and the sound was unprecedentedly loud. The living creatures on both sides of the natural moat could hear it clearly. Some of the weaker living creatures were so scared that they hid. Not far away from the domain of black lightning, the spaceship of the caravan that Zhuowen encountered was flying in an orderly manner. Head. What is that? What a terrifying energy fluctuation. A domain of black lightning suddenly appeared there. On the deck of the spaceship, a cultivator hurried to the front of the old man and reported with a panicked gaze. The old man stood at the bow of the spaceship and ordered the spaceship to stop first. He looked at the domain of black lightning with a solemn gaze. "Grandpa, what is going on? That place is so terrifying." The young girl standing beside the old man's beautiful eyes were filled with fear. Although her cultivation was not high, she was not a fool. The energy fluctuation in front of her was so terrifying that she could tell at a glance that there was a supreme expert inside. Moreover, this expert was very strong. Their spaceship might not even be able to withstand a single slap from him. There are experts fighting inside, and such a terrifying energy fluctuation. I'm afraid that only an expert at the pinnacle of the heavenly master level can cause such a commotion. The old man's gaze was complicated, with a trace of fear and reverence. Head. What should we do now? That domain is too big, and where it is, space and time collapse, and black holes appear everywhere. Our spaceship can't even get close. Once we get close, I'm afraid it will collapse. The cultivator who reported said in fear. Let's stop at a safe distance first. We'll wait and see. We definitely can't go over now. If we go over, we'll be courting death. We can only wait for the battle between the two experts to end before we can go over, the old man said in a deep voice. At the old man's command, the cultivators on the deck all got busy. When the spaceship stopped at a safe distance, the people on the spaceship were relieved. They looked at the battlefield in the distance. They were all curious as to who it was that could cause such a huge commotion. It's a huge black dragon and a human expert fighting. The old man looked into the distance and vaguely saw the scene inside the black lightning domain. However, the scene was too blurry. He could only make out that the two sides were a human and a dragon. Black dragon? Could it be that the black dragon is the strange beast that the person in charge of the docks said has been appearing and disappearing in Heaven's Moat? It said that even the heavenly master died in its hand. The young girl thought of something and could not help but say. The old man took a deep breath and said, "It's very possible. I thought that the person in charge of the docks was talking nonsense. Now, it seems like it's true. Moreover, heaven's moat has become very strange. It's much more dangerous than when we came here, and the gravity is also much stronger. If this senior didn't encounter the black dragon first, I'm afraid we would be in trouble." Chapter 35:19. Mechanical Life. Bang, bang, bang. The battle between Zhuowen and Hei Long had reached its climax. Both sides were displaying their abilities. Violent energy spread out, causing some of the matter in the surroundings to disappear. The black lightning domain was even more terrifying. As far as the eye could see, it was filled with black lightning that rumbled endlessly. Zhuowen's gaze became serious. Purple light filled his body as a terrifying aura erupted from his body. Before this, Hei Long had been suppressed by him. But now, he knew that Hei Long was going to go all out. This made him cautious and did not dare to be careless. Roar! Hei Long roared. The surrounding black lightning domain suddenly shrank and entered Hei Long's body, causing Hei Long's aura to reach an unprecedented level. Whoosh! The black dragon's pitch-black eyes stared emotionlessly at Zhuowen. Soon after, it shot out like an arrow and arrived in front of Zhuowen in the blink of an eye. Hei Long's aura was too powerful. Wherever he passed, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Black lightning constantly exploded, dazzling people and making it difficult to look at. Moreover, Zhuowen discovered that as Hei Long's aura continued to increase, the aura of the shattered divine power in his body became even stronger. Zhuowen did not dare to be careless. He knew that Hei Long was going to use his ultimate move. Its power was definitely extraordinary. Meanwhile, Zhuowen stirred the energy around him. In an instant, purple light soared into the sky, forming a purple pillar that connected heaven and earth. Zhuowen circulated the primordial chant and used his full strength. He threw out a punch, which was like a purple sun that could not be looked at directly. Rumble! Hei Long arrived in front of Zhuowen in an instant. His huge dragon claws whistled through the air, bringing with them terrifying black lightning that crackled endlessly. When the fist and claw collided, a terrifying energy ripple exploded. Layer upon layer, it was as if the entire space was shattered by these terrifying ripples. Immediately after, the space around them began to collapse inch by inch. Moreover, this destruction was continuous. It continued to spread in all directions, causing the surrounding space to become a deathly black. It was as if a drop of ink had been dropped in this space. The ink spread in all directions and dyed the surroundings black. Retreat! Retreat! In the distance, the merchant caravan that was watching from the side panicked when they saw the darkness that was constantly spreading. The old man standing on the deck even shouted loudly for the merchant caravan to quickly retreat. The darkness spread too quickly and covered an extremely wide area. He had no doubt that if they were enveloped by the darkness, they would definitely die. The caravan quickly retreated. Only after retreating to a safe distance did everyone relax. Many people's backs were already drenched in sweat. Grandpa! Who will win? The young girl beside the old man was also shocked by this scene and could not help but ask the old man beside her. Leah, these two are both half-step heaven-shattering realm peerless powerhouses. When they were fighting, I actually couldn't see clearly. The old man's face was slightly red. Although Zhuowen and the black dragon were fighting fiercely, the two's radiance was really too dazzling. The old man's cultivation was far inferior to the two, and his divine sense was also limited. Therefore, he was unable to clearly see the two's specific battle situation. The young girl's cherry lips curled slightly, but her beautiful eyes looked into the darkness, revealing yearning and reverence. She did not think that half-step heaven-shattering realm powerhouses were actually so powerful. She had always grown up under the old man's protection. In the past, she naively thought that her grandfather was the pinnacle powerhouse, and no one was her grandfather's match. But now, she knew that she was a frog in a well. In the eyes of half-step heaven-shattering realm powerhouses, everyone was ants, including her grandfather. I also want to become that kind of powerhouse. In the future, Grandpa, you don't have to protect me, but I'll protect you, the young girl said with a smile. The old man rubbed the young girl's head and said, it's enough that you have this intention. But half-step heaven-shattering realm is seriously too far. The old man had not finished speaking when he suddenly discovered that the darkness ahead was rapidly fading away. Subsequently, they also finally saw clearly everything that happened in the depths of the darkness. Only to see a figure emitting a purple light all over, standing above the natural chasm. And what made everyone dumbstruck was that under this figure's feet was an incomparably huge black dragon. At this moment, the black dragon was dripping with blood. Many of the dragon scales that suffused with a metallic luster were rolled up and flipped open, revealing the bloody flesh inside. What was strange was that the black dragon's blood was black. Even the flesh that was exposed inside was also very strange. It was pitch black, not like a physical body that a living creature should have. The black dragon was very weak, constantly roaring and twisting its dragon body, wanting to shake off the figure on top of it. Unfortunately, it did all this in vain. In the end, it drooped its head, not wanting to move anymore. Grandpa, that human powerhouse one. When the young girl saw this scene, she could not help but jump up in excitement. Let's hurry over and pay respects to this lord. When the time comes, you can't be rude. This is a half-step heaven-shattering realm supreme powerhouse, you must treat him with caution. The old man's gaze was solemn, and after repeatedly warning the young girl, he urged the caravan to rush towards that figure. At this moment, Zhuowen was riding on the black dragon's head, both hands holding the black dragon's two horns. The black dragon was powerless, constantly howling. It was almost beaten half to death by Zhuowen, and at this moment, how could it have the strength to resist Zhuowen? This is. Zhuowen casually wiped a drop of black blood on the black dragon's head, and his gaze became very strange as he sniffed it. Because he found that this black blood was not blood at all, but instead more like a kind of energy fluid. Rip. Zhuowen tore off a dragon scale on the black dragon's head, and his right hand reached inside. He actually felt many lines inside. These lines exuded a strange light, and had an indescribable power. This is a mechanical life. Zhuowen's eyes flashed, feeling incredulous. He fell into deep thought, thinking a lot, and felt that this black dragon was definitely not a product of this starry sky. Although the starry sky he was in also had many life planets with technological civilizations, in general, the technological civilization was not developed, and it was even more impossible to create this kind of mechanical life with strength comparable to a half-step heaven-shattering realm. Could this black dragon have come from another starry sky? Zhuowen's eyes lit up. He was not the ignorant person he used to be, and knew the so-called starry sky of the lower realm and the 100 outer realms. Moreover, he also knew that the starry sky of the lower realm was not just his starry sky, but also the starry sky of other civilizations. And this black dragon was obviously a product of another starry sky civilization. But how did this black dragon enter the starry sky he was in? Moreover, there was actually a trace of shattered divine power in the black dragon's body, which was very extraordinary. Thinking of this, Zhuowen's eyes fell on the darkness in the depths of the natural chasm. Could there be another world under this natural chasm? Zhuowen thought in his heart, and felt that this was the most likely. After all, this black dragon had appeared from the depths of this natural chasm. Moreover, it had suddenly appeared recently. Perhaps there was a passage in the depths of this natural chasm that led to another starry sky. Greetings, Senior. I am Liu Chengfeng. At this moment, the caravan had already approached. The old man standing at the forefront of the deck hurriedly cupped his hands, and lowered his head, not daring to look at Zhuowen, and spoke respectfully. Zhuowen's thoughts were interrupted by the old man's words, and he could not help but turn his head, looking at the caravan with a look of surprise. Chapter 35:20. Golden Corner Starry Skies are. The instant Zhuowen turned his head, the young girl immediately saw Zhuowen's appearance clearly and involuntarily cried out. The old man's heart thumped and hurriedly pulled the young girl, making her bow to Zhuowen. Your Excellency. This is my granddaughter, Li Er. She hasn't seen the world, so if there are areas where her etiquette is lacking, Your Excellency, please don't take offense. The old man was meticulous and immediately apologized to Zhuowen. At the same time, only then did he raise his head to look at Zhuowen. The instant he saw Zhuowen's appearance, he was also stunned, his gaze revealing a look of disbelief. The two of you. We're really fated to meet again, Zhuowen said with a smile that was not a smile. Thud. The old man came back to his senses very quickly and immediately pulled the young girl beside him to kneel down, his body trembling as he said, "Didn't expect that, it's Your Excellency." This lowly one didn't know previously and shouldn't have made rash conclusions. "Your Excellency, please be magnanimous and spare us." The old man broke out in cold sweat, his back long drenched. Back then, when Zhuowen took the lead to leave the dock, he had once asserted that Zhuowen would die without a doubt, his words very impudent. Although Zhuowen was already far away at that time, he knew that a powerhouse like Zhuowen, even if he was very far away, he probably also heard his words on the flying ship back then. That was why he hurriedly knelt on the ground to apologize. When the other people in the caravan saw the old man kneel down, they also knelt down one after another, not daring to look directly at Zhuowen. This person before their eyes was suspected to be a half-step heaven-breaking realm powerhouse, a true supreme powerhouse standing in this starry sky. He could easily annihilate them with one finger. Such a powerhouse, they did not dare to offend, hurriedly begging for mercy. Zhuowen had a smile that was not a smile. Back then, the old man's comments about him on the flying ship, he indeed heard it all. It was just that he did not go and fuss over it. Now, seeing the old man so nervous, he felt rather amused. "Get up. If I blamed you back then, would you all still be able to live until now?" Zhuowen said with a slight smile. Liu Chengfeng's heart turned cold, hurriedly thanking Zhuowen, and said a lot of pretty words. "Your Excellency, are you also heading to the demon domain? Why don't you come with us?" Liu Chengfeng clasped his fist at Zhuowen and asked with a fervent look in his eyes. Zhuowen waved his hand and said, "No need. I still have some things to do, so I won't be going with you." Liu Chengfeng was also a smart person. He glanced at the black dragon that was imprisoned by Zhuowen and thought of something. He didn't continue talking about this matter. Instead, he took out a token and handed it to Zhuowen. "Milord, this is our Thunderbolt Trading Firm's token. Our Thunderbolt Trading Company is one of the Demon Region's 4 great trading companies. We have some influence in the Demon Region. Senior, if you're heading to the Demon Realm, you can come find me at the Thunderbolt Trading Company. Although this old man's strength is far from Your Excellency's match, my connections in the Demon Region are still quite wide. Sir, if you have any trivial matters, you can look for this old man. This old man will definitely be at your beck and call and take care of it properly," Liu Chengfeng said expectantly. Zhuowen nodded, accepted the token, and said casually, "If I really encounter some troublesome matters, I'll go find you. But you can rest assured that I won't let people work for nothing when I find people to help me. If you can really help me at that time, I naturally won't treat you unfairly." Liu Chengfeng grinned from ear to ear, then very cleverly stopped disturbing Zhuowen and led the caravan away from this area. "Grandpa, this sir isn't from the Demon Region at a glance. He might not be too familiar with the Demon Region. Why didn't you invite him to come with us? We can totally be his guides." After the caravan walked away, the young girl on the deck asked Liu Chengfeng puzzledly. "This sir has just subdued that black dragon. He's probably anxious to extract benefits from that black dragon. Aren't we dampening his mood there? Leaving early is the best choice," Liu Chengfeng said with a twinkle in his eyes. Hearing that, the young girl nodded half understanding. Zhuowen came in front of the black dragon and communicated with it with divine sense, asking about its specific origins. "Human, you'd better let me go. Otherwise, you will die very miserably. I'm a creature of Golden Corner Starry Sky, the vanguard of Golden Corner Starry Sky. If you let me go now, when the army of Golden Corner Starry Sky comes here, you will be the first to die." The black dragon roared and viciously replied to Zhuowen with divine sense. Zhuowen was surprised. He didn't expect this black dragon to really come from another lower realm's starry sky. Moreover, according to this guy's words, the army of Golden Corner Starry Sky was coming to invade their starry sky. What was going on? Their starry sky had no intersection with the so-called Golden Corner Starry Sky, so why would Golden Corner Starry Sky invade their starry sky? Zhuowen became very serious. He always felt that this Golden Corner Starry Sky was very unusual. The vanguard sent here were all powerhouses of the Third Blight. The strength of this starry sky was definitely very strong, probably stronger than the starry sky he was in. Next, Zhuowen planned to continue to ask about the purpose of the so-called Golden Corner Starry Sky. But the black dragon was smart and knew that it had let it slip. No matter how Zhuowen asked, it kept silent. Hee. Still pretending to be silent with me? I'll let you pretend. Zhuowen sneered. His powerful divine sense was like a sharp sword as it plunged into the black dragon's forehead. Although the black dragon was a metal life form and had a very different body from flesh and blood, its divine sense was still the same. After all, it had embarked on the path of cultivation. Moreover, Zhuowen also found that the black dragon's physical strength was very strong and there was a trace of broken divine power in its body. However, its divine sense was very weak and barely had the strength of a first blight cultivator. Zhuowen's divine sense invaded the black dragon's divine sense and immediately suppressed its divine sense. As long as Zhuowen willed it, he could immediately destroy the black dragon's divine sense. The black dragon realized the strength of Zhuowen's divine sense and began to feel fear. It sent out divine sense begging for mercy. Zhuowen ignored it. His divine sense condensed into a spiral drill and began to destroy the black dragon's divine sense space. He wanted to blast open the black dragon's divine sense and directly search its soul. It was simple and crude without any hesitation. But soon, Zhuowen found that in the depths of the black dragon's divine sense, there was a special power that formed a shield that wrapped around the divine sense and protected it. Moreover, this shield also had a trace of broken divine power. It was very difficult to deal with. Ordinary Third Blight cultivators would find it difficult to blast open this shield with divine sense attacks. My race's divine sense has always been weak. We have already taken precautions. So what if your divine sense is strong? You can't break the divine sense shield set up by my race's divine master. The black dragon saw that Zhuowen's divine sense was blocked and let out a sigh of relief. This shield is indeed very difficult for ordinary Third Blight cultivators to deal with. Even Fourth Blight cultivators would find it difficult to break if they don't have a divine sense attack. But to me, it's just trash. Zhuowen sneered. His divine sense was too strong, comparable to a Fifth Blight cultivator. The shield in the black dragon's divine sense was a joke to him. Zhuowen's divine sense surged and the shield instantly collapsed. His divine sense completely occupied the black dragon's divine sense space and began to search its divine sense. No, how is this possible? You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.